KCWM Hondo 1460 and on the World Wide Web. We broadcast at kcwm.net. Good morning. It's just past 9 o'clock. Tuesday morning, December 16th. We've been telling you we had some special company that was going to be arriving here this morning. We've got more special company coming by several times. Santa Claus drops by occasionally. Don't forget the great Christmas tamale giveaways going on. When you hear Santa Claus, be the first caller at 830-741-5296. We'll put a package of tamales underneath yon Christmas tree for you, the Christmas tree right over there in the corner. But George Chambers is here with us today, and, man, we're excited about it. We've been telling you about it for quite some time, too. What we're going to do is start things off. I'm going to play you some George Chambers music, and then we're going to open up the microphones and have a great visit with George this morning.
On the couch on a Saturday night, a little bitty boy watched me putting up the lights to my medicine wagon and my seeing all screen. He said it was the best thing he ever had seen. He said, what you doing? Told him Dad. What's your name? I said, it's Ding Dong Howdy. The best old time that you're ever gonna have is a Ding Dong Howdy and an Dad. Oh, Dad. Oh, Ding Dong Howdy. The best old time that you're ever gonna have is a Ding Dong Howdy and an Dad. Show and I sold about a case of my homebrew books, and I was looking in the face of a fat old sheriff with a wax mustache. He showed me his badge and then he took away my cash. He said, what you done? Told him Africa Dad. What's your name? I said, it's Ding Dong Howdy. The best old time that you're ever gonna have is a Ding Dong Howdy and an Africa Dad.
Ding Dong Howdy. That's George Chambers right there. I guess I want to say George Chambers and the Country Gentleman. Let's get George up to the microphone there. Make yourself comfortable there, Senor. You move that mic. You probably have spent a little time at microphone before in the past, so I think you probably know how to get comfortable over there. Ann Lucas is with us. Good morning, Ann. How you doing over there?
Excited to be here.
Well, great. It's exciting to have you here. And it's kind of exciting to have this gentleman that's sitting back over here in the corner with us.
You all are desperate.
Old buddy George Chambers. Man, we've been friends a long time, George.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
We don't want to talk about how long, really.
No, heck no. A week, maybe two.
Yeah. Well, by the way, I got to tell you, of course, legally, I have to tell you right up front, we're recording here this morning for posterity. We may, get something on a recording here that they'll want in the Hall of Fame or something, the Smithsonian Institute.
He can always use to get rid of insects.
Yeah.
You never know.
Ding Dong Howdy. Let's start right from the get-go. We're gonna play a lot of stuff off of your new CD. What's the name of the new CD?
It's called The Journey Continues.
It's been quite a journey, too, hasn't it?
It's been, yeah. It's a long one.
All right. We're going to talk all about that. We're going to play every cut off of there. And I asked you to bring some of the stuff that I don't have here at the radio station, which I do now have. So I'm excited about getting some of that stuff into our
I didn't know you didn't
format.
have it, or I'd have brought it down here a long time ago. You know.
Well, I'm happy to have it now. We're going to be playing the heck out of it, I'll guarantee.
Well, I
you.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Let's talk about Ding Dong Howdy. Where'd that song come from?
Well, Augie Meyer went into, Jerry Blanton has a steel guitar shop down on Zarzamora, and everybody was always in and out of there.
Sure.
I don't know how he ever got any steels built.
Yeah.
But Augie came in with a thing and said, "Jerry, I got a song as a hit for you." He says, "It's written by a straight hat." And Jerry said, "What do you mean a straight hat? One of those guys from Utah." A Quaker or Mormon or whatever. And
Yeah.
looked like the guy on the front of the oatmeal box.
Yeah, sure.
And, of course, you hear that line all the time. "Yeah, I got a hit for you, So he gave Jerry the tape. Jerry gave me the tape. And I learned the song, and we started recording it. We recorded it probably 30 different times in a matter of a couple of months. And we finally got in the studio without anybody around except we recorded at Zaz Studios out on West Commerce there in San Antonio. Augie turned us on to that. He said, "You need to go out there and record." So,
Now, who had the studio?
Joey Lopez.
Yeah.
And you talk about a prince of a guy. Joey was, I think he's moved to California. Somebody told me, but I'm not sure. Zaz is still out there, and his daughter's running the pressing plant and so on. And I guess the studio is still.
Zaz, Z-A-Z.
Z-A-Z, yeah. And that means something in Spanish. I don't know what. But anyway, there was just the band and Joey, and nobody else out there. And we ended up getting the final cut. We did it, listened to it. Said, "That's pretty good." I said, "Maybe keep that." Joey said, "Do it one more time." He had ears like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
And as we did it one more time, he said, "That's it." And, it was really kind of a primitive studio. We cut it on an 8-track Ampex 1-inch tape machine that belonged to Joe South, who wrote The Games People Play.
Yeah.
And he recorded The Games People Play on that recorder.
Yeah.
And he got another recorder, and Joey bought that thing from him. And Joey told me, he says, "This is a hit cutter." I said, yeah, they all say that. And that's kind of how the record came about. And when we finally got it out, I took it out to Max Gardner. He was on KKYX at the time from midnight to 6.
Sure.
And he plays it, and he says, "That's going to be a hit." I said, "Yeah, don't give me that." I've done this before because we'd had a bunch of records out before that that did pretty well.
Yeah.
The whole secret to doing well with a record is getting a little airplay. If you got a great record, nobody hears it, that's what the deal is. But they were really good to us with those 50,000 watts.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a legitimate #1 tune in this area. There was no hype, no promotion, no nothing.
Great song.
Other than just the help we got from the radio station. And
well, the song feels good, you know, and you look for those kind of songs as a radio programmer. You want those kind of songs that kind of jump off the radio dial, and that one does it. And people like it. It feels good to listen to it.
Well, we were lucky because all the guys in our band, we weren't the hotshot musicians, but they all kind of went for that feel thing and ideas. Jerry and Bert and David Zettner could come up with these ideas for all this stuff. That on the first album, I listened to that thing the other day, and we did that in the mid-'60s. And we did most of it at Texas Sound Studios. I did 3 cuts in Nashville, and the rest of the stuff on it we did
right here at home,
right there on Hildebrand. Yeah. And the ideas the guys came up with for the guitar breaks and this and that and the other. We used upright bass and drums. Back in the days when you could use both. And David Zettner was an outrageously good talent.
I want to ask you about the guys that have been with the Country Gentlemen over the years, and that's a good place to start. Let's talk about David. And you knew him for all your life.
Oh, yeah. Well, Stanley's little brother, and I've known him since he was like this tall.
Stanley plays keyboard and accordion with me these days.
Stanley's a good guy.
He's a pistol.
Oh, I know. They've been that way. But David was the artist of the family, and he went to work for us, playing with us, right? He was a senior in high school.
Yeah.
right then.
He was a nice man, too. Just
Yeah, oh, yeah.
sweetheart.
An excellent player. Man, he played
Yeah.
guitar. He played horn. I don't know what he played in the band. He was in a high school band when he was in high school. But he played bass with us. He could play bass and guitar, and we could swap around. One thing we did, we swapped around. Everybody had a slot at the microphone, except Joe the drummer. And then he finally got enough money to where he could pay us, and we'd let him sing.
So David went on, and later, I guess, most famously, worked with Willie Nelson.
Yeah, well, Willie hired him from us.
Yeah.
We were doing back in the 60s. Johnny Bush. I've known John for a million years. It seems like he wouldn't like me to say that because he doesn't think he's that old yet.
Thinks he's still young.
He is singing better than I've ever heard him sing. Now, but anyway, I hired John to play drums with us. We were going to work with Jimmy Dickens at Cherry Springs Tavern. This was way back in 1961 or 2 or 3 or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got to know John then. And John, worked for Ray Price, and then he worked for Willie. And he was working for Willie, and they were trying to put a little trio or something together. And we were doing a lot of dates with them where we'd do the dance sets, and Willie would get up and do his deal. But his deal was, he told Jerry, he says, anybody wants to get up and play while I'm on, I'll get up there. And just if you want to.
Yeah.
That was kind of an open deal. Most of us, we just wanted to sit and listen. So
Sure.
He'd get up there and play. But when he finally decided he was going to go with like his 3-piece deal, he hired David to play bass. And David was with him, until he got drafted. And in the meantime, we'd hired a guy named B. Spears who lived out on the Scenic Loop. That we'd known that family forever. We all grew up together in that area of the county. And so B was playing with us. And when David went off to Fort Bliss and sat there for 6 months waiting for the Army to make up their mind what they were going to do with him, here comes Jimmy Day, steel guitar player, with Willie, and says, come on, B. So he got B. And
so you're kind of like Willie's Farm Club.
Yeah, you'd think so, yeah.
Taking all your players.
The next guy we hired for bass, a guy named Preston Buchanan, who'd been playing with a bunch of pseudo rock and roll bands around San Antonio, like Denny Asbud and that bunch. And we played Panther Hall in Fort Worth when Charlie Pride cut his live album there. And again, we were doing the dance sets, which was fine with me. Boy, we got over and do a couple of hours, and then the star would come on, and we could stand around. And we got back, on Sunday, and we were fooling around. Tuesday, Charlie Pride calls Preston and says, I need a bass player. So off Preston went to the Pride thing. He was with Pride for 30 years.
Yeah.
And we kept shuffling those guys out. We must have been hard on bass players, I think.
Well, that's
but that's a real accolade to have somebody who is at that level.
Yeah, sure.
Hire somebody from you to think enough of the players that are in the band. Because we never were an I in band, like it's my band. It was our band, It was a we band, We were all just a unit. And everybody had a job in the band, and we could rotate them around. We were lucky enough to have everybody in the band could sing.
Well, that takes care of somewhat, anyway. David Zettner, but
but he what he did, when he got that back out of the Army. The Army kept him for 6 months and decided his feet were too big, so he couldn't be in the Army. So he worked with some just, different bands, kind of kicked around for a while, and then he went back to work for Willie up at the ranch, up at Spicewood, doing his artwork and playing on a few sessions. He wasn't on the road with him playing. But he and Willie were really close.
Now, he was playing steel guitar on some
he played everything.
Yeah.
He played guitar, he played steel, he played bass.
Kind of like you and me, huh?
I can't hardly find the strings on the guitar,
Well, we're gonna play some more of the music, and we're going to feature the new CD, but we're going to play a couple of the older songs, too. And haven't forgotten that Ann Lucas is here with us. Ann,
I'm here. I'm listening.
All
I'm
right.
intrigued here.
We'll let you introduce this next song, if you'll tell everybody. This is Marie.
This is Marie.
Follow me to the place we used to love, Marie. No one needs to know you're here with me. Won't you come along, Marie? Years are gone, but not the memory of those nights alone. I need you and I need you alone. Won't you come along, Marie? Years are gone, but not the memory of those nights alone. I need you and I need you alone. Won't you come along with me? Years are gone, but not the memory of those nights alone. I need you and I need you alone. Won't you come along, Marie?
All right, there's our special guest this morning. George Chambers is here with us. Ann, you like that song? That's nice.
I do.
huh?
Nice song. Yeah.
Marie, follow me. We're going to talk about the band a little bit more, but we're going to talk about the songwriter, the guy that wrote that song right there. George has been with you for a long time, hasn't he?
Yeah, we've been kicking around together for
Ron Knuth.
Ron Canute, yeah. Yeah, you know, he
Somebody else recorded this song, too, didn't they?
Little Joe and La Familia
Yeah, there you go.
recorded, Willie sang on it,
Yeah.
on that record.
Yeah. You know, Willie's, including you, Willie's sung with just about everybody but me. He's,
Well,
man, he's,
call him up.
he likes to do duets and stuff, doesn't he?
He's very open to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It seems like, you
It's all
know.
about the music, and he is a true music man, isn't he?
Oh yes.
We'll come back and talk about him here in a little bit, but let's talk about Ron. Ron, how'd you run across Ron?
Well, Ron, he moved down here in 1972. He and Hank Singer to work for Johnny Bush.
Yeah.
That's where I met him. You know, he was working for Bush, and you know, and he worked for Bush for I don't know how long, and then he kicked around here and there doing this and that, and he finally went to work with us for I don't know how many years. And we still do some stuff together, you know, just duo stuff. And sometimes if we take the band out, you know, we try to get Ron, and you know, I can get the same old guys.
Sure.
If we get enough wheelchairs to get them in there, you know.
Yeah.
And but Ron's a good writer, and he's you know, he used to just play fiddle. But now when you go, he plays a lot with Johnny Bush now, you know, kind of on an independent basis. But John uses him a bunch because he plays accordion, but he's got a couple of button accordions.
Oh, okay.
And he plays mandolin.
Yeah.
And he plays guitar. And there's a cut on the new album that he wrote that he played guitar on. He came in the studio, and we listened to the mix, and he did the guitar in one take.
Wow.
I mean, we wasn't there 5 minutes, and he's gone.
That's pretty incredible.
I mean, he's outrageously talented.
Yeah.
Individual, you know, just really, he's a good writer, good singer, you know, he sings good. And, you know, we worked all those years at Gallagher's, and Bert and Ron and I, as a trio for 11 years there at on Interstate 10 in Wurzbach when that restaurant was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's where we kind of honed things, because in there you could be real loose and make a difference because it was so noisy and people were in there just having a good time. And we worked up a lot of really nice 3-part harmony stuff, you know. And it got to be like Cheers, you know. It was one of those kind of deals. But Ron he's just extremely talented guy.
Well, guys on the bandstand really they just have a sense of where the other guy's going, and it just develops. And the more you play with someone, the easier it gets, isn't it?
Yeah,
or supposed to anyway.
Yeah.
Not always, but let's talk about the band itself. When did you? As far as the Country Gentlemen, was that always the name of the band? Is that...
No, you know, we started playing. We had a band in 1952, and I was a freshman in high school at what's now John Marshall. It's the Northside High School,
right?
And the school was, you know, country schools, and the first graduating class was in 51 had 8 people in it, and the next one had 32 people in it, you know, and I think mine had 51 people in it anyway. Well, we were all taking vocational agriculture. There was a bunch of guys in there. There was a guy in there who played bass. There was a guy in there named Paul Kime, who's a well-known Western artist, you know, painter. Mm-hmm. He does Western scenes, playing piano. He played piano, and I played guitar. And we had a guy from we had found this guy who went to school over at Northeast, over there on Nacogdoches Road, whatever it is. You know, it's now MacArthur High School. His name was Don Misher. He played steel. He was taken from Lloyd Baker down at the same time Denny Mathis was taking steel lessons down there. So we got Don to come. Don, now if you watch the Emmys or the Atlanta Olympics, the closing ceremonies, or any of the Bob Hope specials, he's produced all that stuff. He's a big time TV producer, you know, and nationally known Emmy, you know, winner and all that stuff. But he was our steel guitar player. And let's see, who else was in that band? Blanton, I think, was playing guitar. He wasn't playing steel, then he was playing guitar. Anyway, we had a 6-piece band. And we didn't have a name, but we were working at Flores Country Store every Sunday. One of the guys' parents knew John T., and he needed a band out there. I wish I had a recording of that band. I bet we were some band. You know, we all thought we were stars.
Yeah.
And you were out there playing for the kitty, but, you know, we'd get $50 or $60 in quarters in that pot on Sunday afternoon. Yeah. And back in 1952, $10 was a whole lot of money.
That's pretty good.
You know, and so everybody keep it all in quarters. You have a pocket full, you know, change, big thing like that.
What about the rest of the, although there weren't all that many of them, but the rest of the kids over at the school, what did they all think of you guys? Were you all big stars around the school?
Oh, no, you know, this is a big deal. There's a bunch of players, you know, and during lunch we'd get in the book room. They had a book room where they kept all the textbooks, you know, and stored them in there. We'd get in there and play during lunch, you know, just thinking whoever could play a guitar a little bit. Yeah. You know. It was, of course, you know, television was just coming in, and nobody had cars. You had to walk everywhere you went, or ride a horse, or ride a bicycle, or whatever, you know. And so
so the guy that had the car obviously got in the band too. Huh?
Oh yeah, but it was kind of a really neat place to grow up. And
San Antonio's changed a lot, hasn't it?
Oh gosh, I guess.
But you know, it still kind of has that old San Antonio feel.
Yeah.
You know, I guess it always will. It's just that charm of the city. But it's kind of unbelievable how much it's grown, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just taken over. You know, but, you go out Interstate 10 West, and if you look off to the side, you see subdivision there, so all the way to Bernie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just it's really a shame to turn up at hill country like that. You know.
Yeah. But that's you know, Texas itself is considerably larger than it was back in the days
like
we're talking about.
That line in the John Prine tune, you know, they wrote it all off as the progress of man. You know, the destruction of all that neat areas.
We want to talk some more about some of the other guys in the band. Let's talk about Bert. Where'd you find him, and how long is he?
I don't know where we found him.
He was part of the trio.
I really don't know, but he's been our guitar player for forever. He's basically retired now. He doesn't. If we take the band out, he won't go. He says I can't do it anymore. Yeah. But he'll come out to, the old Texas Star Inn and play. If Jerry comes, Bert comes, and they'll come out and sit in and play. Yeah. And he still plays. He's the thing. Bert plays bass and he plays guitar, and he's got a unique musical mind, and he comes up with all these ideas that nobody else does. Little runs and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. When we'd work shows with Willie, a lot of times B or David would be off doing something, and Bert would get up and play bass with Willie, because he knew all the runs and all the stuff on the bass. And he just, I really don't remember how Bert, appeared. I mean, he popped out of a box or whatever,
But he's been with you for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Good gosh, since 57, 58.
So what about drums? Let's talk about who's been back there holding the beat for you.
We've run through a lot of drummers. Well,
yeah, I think I know a lot of them.
Joe McAllister was probably, I don't know who played drums before Joe. I don't remember. But Joe and David were in the same graduating class at John Marshall. Uh-huh. So Joe went to work for us. And Joe lives in Austin. He's a multimillionaire now. He got smart and got out of the music business.
Yeah. Hard to get those kind of guys to play music very much, isn't it? Those multimillionaires.
But Joe played with us for like 4 or 5 years, and Joe went to work for Johnny Bush's first band. Bush hired Joe to come, play with him. Mm-hmm. And good drummer, funny guy. He'd get up and sing a few songs. He had some comedy acts, and he was just really a funny guy, and a good guy. And I don't remember who came in the band after that, drummer-wise. We had Larry Robertson played drums with us for a long time, and a guy named Terry Yarborough played bass and sang with us. Terry was a good singer, and Terry had a little band of his own at one time. And they both got hired by Darryl McCall when Darryl put a band together. And we got
There's 2 Larrys, right? Big Larry and Little Larry.
Yeah. Right? Big Larry's a guitar player.
Yeah, okay.
And he played.
Larry, what was his last name?
Larry Patton. Yeah. And he'd come sit in with us, but he never was a real member of the band.
Yeah. And Little Larry,
that's Little Larry. Little Larry was, and he and Terry. Yeah, and when Little Larry and Terry went to work for Darryl McCall, we hired a guy named Leroy McGehee to play bass, and a guy named David Dennis to play drums. And David was with us for a long time. He ended up being a big bureaucrat out at Shirt Cibolo. He was in charge of the Cibolo Creek Municipal Authority.
Man, you've had a lot of guys who have been very successful that have left music because of you, huh?
Yeah, we gave him a lot of a lot of stuff about the bureaucrat.
Yeah, that's right.
But David was a good drummer, really a good drummer, And then Larry went back to work for us. Finally, when Larry went from Larry and Ron and who else? Somebody else worked for Hank Jr. And they were working for Hank Jr. when he fell down the mountain.
Oh, that's a long time ago.
I remember that.
Oh, yeah, and that put them out of business, for that. And they were still living in Nashville. And when they finally got back to San Antonio, then Larry went back to work for us. And, he's been kind of working with us ever since. When we take the band out, that's the drummer of choice.
Yeah. That's the A-team.
Yeah. Those are the guys.
Boy, they are, too.
Because they know what to do, and they've learned how to do it. And they know when to play and how to play. And so you use really nice dynamics. We do a lot of, when we put the band together, we do a lot of backup work, working with, who knows what. We just got back from down in Victoria. They have a big fundraiser for the Bluebonnet Youth Ranch. every year golf tournament and that kind of thing, and they have shows. And they get all these celebrities to come down. And this last one we worked with Pat Green and Jack Ingram and Janie Fricke and, you know, Geronimo Trevino and Bobby Flores was down there, you know, on that show. And I don't remember who else, Rick Trevino, just a whole bunch of people. But they know what to do and how to play behind them, and, you know, when to do what. And that's something that a lot of bands don't seem to have. They all want to turn up as loud as they can play and, you know, run the people out. And you got to know when to hold them, you know, when to fold them. You know, it's one of these deals. And it's really interesting, you know, because the talent that all those guys have.
Yeah. George Chambers is with us, and we've been telling you for quite some time about George is going to stop by, and we're going to play all the music off his new CD, and we're going to continue to play that for you here on KCWM. We also got some of the great old George Chambers music, and also the pleasure of visiting with George. You learning anything, Ann?
I am. I'm learning so much.
This is a pretty good history lesson right here.
It is.
So I noticed you had your notebook out and you're kind of taking...
Yeah, we're going to have a test.
He's answering all my questions without me even having to ask them.
Yeah, and George was a longtime school teacher, so he just said we're going to have a test later on, and we'll do that. Let's take a break here, and we'll come back and we'll play some more of George's music. Ann, you remember the song Tie a Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree?
I do remember that song.
George did the original version of that.
Oh, nice.
Long before that song came out. We're going to play that. Coming up next.
Judd Ashmore for the Fickle Pickle Store in Bandera. You know, the Fickle Pickles lady, Billy Shaw, developed the recipe for these special tasting pickles in the early 70s, and she passed it on to her daughter Lisa and son-in-law Jake. They have another store in Bernie and had it for some 30 years. We now have another location, the new store in Bandera. It's on Main Street between Shoe Biz and the OST. The first step in discovering just how good this pickle is, step up to the tasting counter and sample it for yourself. For your already good potato salad, tuna fish, or egg salad, add our Fickle Pickle to it and you'll be the talk of the town. Now, we ship Fickle Pickles nationwide with a minimum of 3 pints or 12 pints in a case. In addition, the Fickle Pickle store in Bandera will be filled with home furnishings, quality antiques, Western art, plus a selection of hand-forged tools dating back to the 1800s. You'll love the taste of these Fickle Pickles. Oh, by the way, we also have Fickle Pickle marinade to enhance the flavor of chicken breast, pork chops, shrimp, and biscuits. Fickle Pickles in Bandera and Bernie. Come see us soon. FicklePickles.com on Main Street in Bandera.
If you have an electronic gift in mind, Cross Connections Radio Shack at 1110 18th Street has a huge selection of ideas for you. This is your one-stop shop for phones, security systems, cameras, computers, toys, GPS, and anything in between. You're sure to find what you're looking for at the local Radio Shack. Come on by and see Stacy, Michelle, Ashley, Amanda, and Tricia for all of your technology needs and questions. These girls are super helpful, friendly, and knowledgeable. Cross Connections Radio Shack in downtown Hondo.
Cartoons on the radio.
What a party, brother! I never had so much fun in my life!
Get your cartoons. Mornings with Mike Carr on KCWM.
All right, we're back with George Chambers, and we're talking about one of the songs that I remember this song really from, I guess, one of the first songs, and I'm thinking probably mid-'70s when I heard this song. But let's get George to talk about it a little bit. I said it's the original version of Tie a Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree, and it's kind of the same story, but a different song.
Yeah, it's a different song. A guy that was living in Bandera called me one day. His name was Jim Foster. Well, his name still is Jim Foster. I don't think he's changed.
I don't think
he's changed it. He wrote...
George, you've got a lot of friends that have changed their names.
Yeah, that's because the FBI was searching for them.
Aliases.
But Jim used to come down to Cabaret some, and he was running the Purple Cow that was in the old Frontier Hotel up there.
Yeah.
It's gone now.
Right.
It burned down.
Right.
And he said this guy came in and told him this story one night,
Yeah.
you know, and he wrote this song, called me, and he says, I got a song for you. And at the time, Jim was managing to out at Lost Valley, you know, they'd built a racetrack, and they had that ghost town out there, Western Town,
right.
and they had a real nice motel there at the time, and Jim was managing that whole complex. And he called me and said, come up here and listen to this song. You know, so okay, so I got my old Wallensack reel-to-reel recorder, you know, and off we went. And we got in one of the rooms there, and he sang it to me. And this was in the fall of '65, I think, sometime in the last century, you know. And so I went home and learned it, and we went down there and recorded it. You know, it took us like 7 hours to do the song, you know, to get it like we wanted it.
Yeah.
And at the time, our booking agent worked for RCA Victor in record sales and promotion, and that's at a place called Parashanko Company. It was RCA's Texas hub.
Yeah.
And Jesse Schneider was in charge of the office and this and that. Jesse had moved down here. He was down here originally. He was from Fredericksburg originally, I think. But he moved to Nashville and was managing Johnny and Jack and Kitty Wells, and got tired of that Nashville deal, you know. And so he moved back down here working with RCA. And so he said, well, let me see if I can get us a deal on this record. Because we had done some, you know, the Walk Another Mile and something else, you know, before the ribbon. And this guy from Hanna-Barbera, Tom Ayers was his name, flew down here, listened to the song. We went out to supper, and he told Jesse, he says, we can do this. We'll release this tune. And they did. You know, and it was, boy, Max Gardner was at K-Bear at the time. And thanks to Max, he played that song 4 times a day for 6 months.
Yeah.
And I told him, Max, people are going to get tired of listening to that stupid song. I get requests for that song all the time. Still. And that was, what, 40, 50
Great
years
song.
ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm only 18, but that's...
Yeah.
You know, but it was a really good story song. Then when Tie Yellow Ribbon came out, it was like 10 years later or so, you know, in the mid-'70s, I guess is when it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they went round and round. I think there was a lawsuit.
I always wondered, when I heard Tie a Yellow Ribbon the first time, I said, somebody got that idea from Chambers Ribbon.
Yeah, I don't know who wrote Tie a Yellow Ribbon, but they had the big hit. Hanna-Barbera, if they'd have done some promotion, I think would have had it. We've got some good play. We had like a number 2 record in Miami, Florida, and somewhere in Connecticut and Utah, and just, you know, just spotty stuff.
Yeah.
But they didn't really get off their tail. You know, they were in the commercial record business for about a year. We had 2 releases on Hanna-Barbera. A group called the Five Americans out of Dallas. They had a country band, a rock and roll band, and a Scottish, they called them skiffle groups, which were basically Scotland's version of country music.
Yeah, sure.
And they had those 3 acts were on
Donegan and those guys, Lonnie Donegan and almost beer songs and stuff.
And so those were the 3 acts that they had on records. You know, and then they decided they were going to just stick with the kids stuff.
Flintstones and
and the
Yogi Bear
Saturday
and
morning
all that.
cartoons and all that stuff.
You remember those, right, Ann?
I do remember those.
Hanna-Barbera. All right. Well, what do you say we give it a listen?
All right.
Bragging about it.
I haven't heard it in a while. It'd be good.
Here's the ribbon.
My years in prison caused her such pain, broke her full heart, ruined our name. Wrote in my letter, they freed me today. If my darling still loves me, then answer this way. By the station there stands a big tall oak tree. Hang there a white ribbon if you still care for me. If I see the white ribbon, to your arms I will fly. If if I see no white ribbon, I'll pass right on by. Will I see the white ribbon telling me she is there? Or will I see a tree standing bare? Will I want to live, or will I want to die? Will I see the white ribbon when the train draws nigh? 8 wheels are driving, bringing me back, while my heart is beating every foot of the track. Will my darling still love me? Will my darling still care? Oh, please let the ribbon, white ribbon, be there. I look down the track, and what do I see? My eyes are straining. There's a tree. It's covered with ribbon, all pretty and bright. Lovely ribbon, and all of them white. It's covered with ribbons, all pretty and bright. Lovely ribbon, and all of them white, and all of them white, and all of them white.
George Chambers, KCWM, The Ribbon, and man, George, that was originally done, what year, 65?
Well, we recorded in 65, released March 6th. And it's very strange because to put it on the label, you know, released March 6th, 1966.
That's an easy date to remember.
Yeah, it's the day the Alamo fell.
Exactly. And it's also, Bob Wills was born on March 6th.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. No.
Yeah. Wills was born on March 6, 1906, which was 100 and whatever number of years that was. Not even 100.
It was 107 years ago.
Yeah, 80 years, I guess, after the fall of the Alamo. But anyway, so yeah, March 6th. And that's, as I said, kind of an easy date to remember. Oh, I love that song. And,
well, thank you. That's I think that's a good song. It really gets, you know.
It builds up to the end, and you're in suspense, and then it's not just one ribbon, but covered in ribbons.
Yeah, I thought it was put together better than Tie Yellow Ribbon. You know, Tie Yellow Ribbon was a really successful song, and you can't hardly knock somebody for having success. But you know, just the continuity of the two songs are, to me, the original Ribbon, the song that we did or that Jim wrote, you know, was a little better put together story.
Well, and
the story that, you know, the way that the story went down.
Yeah, it's very paints an audio picture, and a great job of that. And you get that sense that you're riding on a train. It's the beat goes on. It's an awesome.
The original version is a little bit different than that, but it's pretty much, you know, we used a lot of the same stuff in it, except the original version has the background singers.
I wasn't around when you did the original version. I was probably in kindergarten then.
Yeah.
Not quite.
I must have not been born yet.
Yeah. And Ann probably wasn't even born then.
That's right.
Let's see. We're going to play. We're going to play some more music, and we got the full CD. The Journey Continues, and we're just kind of talking a little bit about the journey and kind of taking a trip down memory lane with George Chambers. And without the country gentleman, you hardly ever see you back in the old days without the gentleman, but now you're playing a lot by yourself. Let's talk about where you are these days. And I'm going to tell you what, we got to talk about one of the players before we move on. We're talking about the band. My buddy Jerry Blanton. He's there's a lot to talk about there, isn't
I
there?
told him that we're going to talk about him today, and
Yeah.
he needed to send you a big check.
Good idea. He's a great writer himself.
Oh, he's a good songwriter. You know, we did "Lady I'm Calling from Houston," or Jerry wrote. And,
We'll play that here in a few minutes.
my favorite thing that he wrote is a tune that he doesn't like very much, but the record. We did it in 2 takes, and he wasn't even there when we recorded it. And he and somebody else wrote a song. He called it the Mr. M Blues.
Yeah.
Because it was, you know, the Mr. M Ice House. And it changed it back. There was a line in there. So got them down and out and busted, starving, lazy, my belly's rusted.
Yeah.
Guitar Boogie Blues. So I changed the name of it to Guitar Boogie Blues, you know, to kind of fit, you know, the times.
Yeah.
But it feels really, really good. Hank Harrison, you know, at the SAC radio station played it the other day, and I hadn't listened to it in a long time.
Yeah.
I was driving down the road.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, I like that record. You know, it's a corny song, you know. It's about an old picker just down and out and wants the old lady to go out and make some money, and, you know, it's kind of, you know, the same old story.
But Blanton's played steel guitar for you.
Plays steel guitar,
Many
plays
years.
lead guitar, plays dobro.
It started out, you said, on the guitar.
Yeah, he was a guitar player.
Okay.
And the funny thing, the first Blanton steel guitar, one of my brothers had wanted to play steel guitar, so he bought a little lap steel, Alamo laps, Alamo, you know, they used to make them in San Antonio, Alamo guitars.
Right.
And his 6-string lap steel. So Jerry got that steel, just been sitting around the house, and went over to the shop at John Marshall, would do the ag teacher real well. So he let Jerry use the shop, you know, on the weekends in there. So Jerry's making all this stuff and hooking these strings up and the pedals and all that stuff on the deal. And I was going to school up at Southwest Texas in San Marcos at the time, and he got it all put together on a Sunday evening, and I was waiting to go back to school, but I wanted to wait to see if the steel guitar was going to work. So we got on the front porch of the house and tuned everything, and hit a chord and started a song, and he punched the pedals down, and the whole bottom fell out all over the porch. And we laughed about that for hours, you know. Back to the drawing board. You know?
Well, he is a master craftsman, and
he's
builds a beautiful instrument. And I was doing some stuff with him in the studio not long ago, and he was showing me some pictures. I'd seen some pictures of his home that he built out in West Texas, out in the Lajitas
He's
area.
building another one out there. It's
man.
Blanton Construction Company.
He just does great work, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And a great guy, too.
Yeah,
He's a lot of fun.
You know, his steel's ranked among the top 3 manufacturers in the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
All right, that's enough about Blanton. We said we were going to talk about him.
He didn't pay us enough.
No. I'll tell you what I wanted to do was ask you a little bit about some of the places you're playing now. We're going to kind of touch on that more as we start playing some cuts off of the new CD. But you got some regular gigs. Let's just kind of run by those.
Well, the business has changed so much, and it's hard to get enough money to take the band out.
Yeah.
You know, unless you play real loud and wear your baseball cap and T-shirt and
with your shirt tail hanging out,
and do, you know, the newer music. Yeah. And so we don't do much of that. There's some new songs that are really good songs, and I try to learn those, you know, to do them. But I've been doing singles and duos and trios, and a lot of convention stuff.
Yeah.
You know, because you can take an upright bass, fiddle, and guitar, put on your cowboy hat and a bandana, and you know, your atmosphere mostly. But you know, those people come, they request, and we never get a request for a new song. They always want to hear, you know, they want to hear the older stuff. Yeah. And you know, that I've been doing a bunch of singles, like over at Grady's, which on Bandera Road, which is the old Texas Star Inn dance hall. Right. In fact, I ran into one of the sons of the guy that used to own that thing yesterday.
Wow.
You know, Frank Klein owned it. All his kids we went to school with all his kids. Because they just lived down the road from the high school there. Yeah. And played that place many, many times. You know, so I've been doing a single out there for. I'll say it's a single. Sometimes it's me. Sometimes it's me and Jerry and Bert and whoever comes out. There's a place to go play. It's a nice early gig. It's 6:30 to 8:30, so you're home at 9 o'clock.
Does that still have a little bit of the old Texas Star Inn atmosphere?
Oh, yeah. Well, they didn't do much of what Grady's, I'll have to give them credit. They took the walls and put that rough cedar on the walls inside. The sign is still on the building out front.
Yeah, with the backwards map on it.
Yeah, and
You go, depending on which direction you're going, Texas is backwards on one side.
yeah, and you know, it's still pretty much the same building.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't do much to it.
Now you're playing down on the Riverwalk with a girl that plays the fiddle.
Yeah, with R.J. Smith down at the Republic of Texas, you know, and that's her gig. I just kind of stand around. I don't sing down there. That's somebody just requests something that I know, you know. But most of the time, I'm just a guitar player and the observer, you know.
Yeah. So it's just you and R.J. down there?
Yeah.
On Sunday, every Sunday, right?
Yeah.
And
whenever Sunday the weather doesn't get us, or she's not out of town.
what time of the evening is that?
6 to 8.
Okay. We're going to talk more about that as we play some of the cuts from the new CD. The Journey Continues. We're just starting off talking about maybe the older part of the journey, and then we'll talk more about some of the current things that are going on. But I want to play this song, Lady, I'm Calling from Houston, and Jerry Blanton wrote this.
Yeah, Jerry wrote that song.
He'll have to send us another check.
I get requests for that thing, too. It's really strange, the songs you get requests for, and you didn't think, you know, anybody heard it.
Let's give it a spin.
Lady, I'm calling from Houston. I've been thinking about you all day. I'm calling to say it's over. Honey, we just can't go on this way. I guess it's the way that you kissed me at the airport last night in the rain. And this hurt, it's tagged along with me. Turn my head around to call you today. I'm calling to say it's all over. The long, lonely nights you spent alone. You kissed me goodbye for the last time. 'Cause lady, I'm coming back home. Lady, I'm calling from Houston, and I'm praying that I'm not too late. And if you let me, I'll love you forever. 'Cause this time I'm coming home to stay. I'm calling to say it's over. The long, lonely nights you spent alone. You kissed me goodbye for the last time. 'Cause lady, I'm coming back home. Lady, I'm calling from Houston.
All right, there's George Chambers and Lady, I'm Calling from Houston. That's Jerry Blanton styled song right there. And Blanton is, I was saying, he's a good friend, and I, you know, pick on him a little bit when I get a chance, which is often.
Yeah, well, he needs it.
He's not around to take care of him, you know, pick up slack for himself. So we.
Yeah, we can pick on him because he's
can't defend himself, but he's a master craftsman, builds one of the top flight steel guitars in the world, and a heck of a carpenter and architect and all that, and and a song stylist also. Well, it's a great song.
Oh yeah,
Lady, I'm Calling from Houston. What year was that?
Good gosh, I don't have a clue. It was after the Ding Dong Howdy. It was in the 70s sometimes, you know. Yeah. I don't, you know, have exact...
That was good times. That was good times to be playing country music because, you know, KKYX, you were talking about this in the old days with Max Gardner and that, and then over at K-Buck also, and, man, there was some good country radio around back in those days. It was great to get played on those stations. Talk about a little bit about some of the other guys who were going up and down the road back in those days. I know you're a great friend of mine also, Bubba Littrell.
Oh, yeah. Wow, Bubba was one of my favorite singers. I remember when Bubba was a little older than I am. He, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. He already had a band.
Yeah.
And I was in Earl Abel's restaurant one night.
Yeah.
And Bubba was in there. And I was in awe. There's a star, Bubba Littrell.
Sure.
Wow, and that was way back in the last century, But he was, I played on all but a few of his records, played rhythm guitar on things. And he was a good singer, just a good guy.
Yeah,
I really liked Bubba.
Makes me get to thinking about it because you talk about those days when he already had his band and he was a star and all of that, and you were working with him. So I know he was closely connected with Leon Payne, and Bubba told me some great stories about really Leon kind of got him jump started in the country music business back at the old Melody Ranch.
They worked out there. We were playing a place called the Hi-Ho Corral.
Sure, man.
The old Hi-Ho Theater.
Southside.
Yeah, oh yeah. And, the expressways weren't near what they are today. And so you had to go the same route. Bubba had to go the same route to get to Melody Ranch because it was right by the Hi-Ho Corral. It was just down the street there.
Yeah.
And we'd pass him once in a while, him and Leon. Bubba had a great big old Lincoln.
Of course.
They were driving along. But he played that thing for, I don't know how many years.
Long time, but I know that for many years I had the pleasure, a long time ago, we had talked about SAC, San Antonio College, and the radio department there, and I had the pleasure of interviewing Bubba on SAC, KSYM, long time ago. And he told some great stories. One of them was that he would pick Leon up because Leon was blind, and he would pick him up and drive him out to the Melody Ranch, and Bubba would front the band, and that when Leon decided that it was time to maybe stop getting on the bandstand, he passed the band really along to Bubba, and they changed the name from the Melody Ranch Hands to the Melody Mustangs.
Yeah.
So it's one of my favorite old Bubba Littrell stories. But
Leon was a case. Boy, he was. He was really a funny guy. We played in Robstown, a place called Ponderosa Club, and they'd book a single act in there, and we'd go down and do the backup thing.
Yeah.
And Leon was playing it. And he rode down there with us in the car. We had an old Cadillac limo at the time. It was before we got our bus. And it was a big, long car we bought from a funeral home for $200. And it had the window between the seat, black.
Right.
It was black, and it had George Chambers, the country gentleman, in gold letters on each door. If you had flags on the front, it looked like an embassy car, But anyway, I'm in the back seat with Leon, and we're just talking, riding along, and Jerry and Bert are in the front driving, and the window is up, between the seats. And Leon says, "Where's the button for that window?" And so I told him, and he rolls it down, and he hollers at Jerry. He says, "Hey, Jerry, if you get tired, I'll be glad to drive. I do my best at night." And then he rolled the window up before Jerry could say anything. He was really interesting to talk to. He used to say that his big goal was to get a great big Rolls Royce and go around and pick up all the musicians in San Antonio that were playing and take them to the gig. And at 1 o'clock in the morning, come back and get them all and take them all home.
Oh, man. Leon Payne, boy, he was a legendary songwriter.
Oh, good writer. He did a good job on the bandstand, too.
Oh, yeah.
He was
a great singer.
But her ride in the back of that old Cadillac was an icon, because a lot of his hits, I didn't know anybody, in the business. And I got to ride and visit with Leon, and we solved all the problems of the world for a while there,
All right, I got to break the station here. It's KCWM Hondo 1460, and on the World Wide Web at kcwm.net. And it's George Chambers here with us today, Mike Carr and Ann Lucas, and we've got some more company here in the house with us, having a great time, getting some. I knew we were going to have fun and listen to some of these stories from George.
We are.
As I said, a great history lesson from the old professor. We're going to talk more about maybe some of the other aspects of George's career and stuff. Let's play. We're going to play all the cuts off of the new CD called The Journey Continues. We'll talk more about some other artists and things that George has crossed paths with over the years. But let's get hour two started off with this song right here.
It's a bloody Mary morning, baby left me without warning sometime in the night. So I'm flying down to Houston with forgetting her the nature of my flight. Taxi toward the runway with the smog and haze reminding me of how I feel. Just a country boy who's learning that the pitfalls of the city are extremely real. All the nightlife and the parties and temptation and deceit, the order of the day. It's a bloody Mary morning, 'cause I'm leaving baby somewhere in L.A. It's a bloody Mary morning, baby left me without warning sometime in the night. So I'm flying down to Houston with forgetting her the nature of my flight. Airborne and flight 50 cuts a path across the morning sky. And a voice comes through the speaker reassuring us flight 50 is the way to fly. Then a hostess takes our order, coffee, tea, or something stronger to start off the day. It's a bloody Mary morning, 'cause I'm leaving baby somewhere in L.A. It's a bloody Mary morning, baby left me without warning sometime in the night. So I'm flying down to Houston with forgetting her the nature of my flight. It's a bloody Mary morning, baby left me without warning sometime in the night. So I'm flying down to Houston with forgetting her the nature of my flight.
And there's George Chambers, and I'm flying down to Houston with forgetting her the nature of my flight. That's called Bloody Mary Morning. I think we have heard that song from somebody else, haven't we, George?
Yeah.
You told me a great story about this. You saw that's a Willie Nelson song. Willie wrote it, and you recorded it. When was this recording?
Well, the one you just played was recorded in 1971.
Okay.
Willie had it in an album.
Yeah.
And I was listening to that album, and I said, I'd like to cut Bloody Mary Morning. He said, well, you can cut anything I got.
Yeah.
I thought, wow.
Yeah.
Coming from the consummate songwriter that he is, it's, I thought, wow, that's great. I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
So we went and did it. And about 5 years, in the mid-'70s sometimes, he released it as a single. Because it had a Red-Headed Stranger and all that stuff, and he was really on the, fly.
Yeah.
And so he did it as a single. It had a 5-string banjo playing in it, and it was, that jet plane was really flying in that record.
Yeah.
And we were in Houston playing the Pro-Am show, the Entertainment at Night. We were doing the backup work thing.
That's the golf tournament?
Yeah, at Houston Open.
Okay.
And I was walking through the reception room. They were having a big cocktail hour in there with all the celebrities and the golfers and anybody that could sneak in there.
Sure.
And Willie was talking to some guys, and I saw him over there, but I was on my way to set up. I was just panicked, get that thing set up so we're ready to go at 8 o'clock or whatever time. And he's looking at this guy talking to him, and he reaches out and grabs my arm. And he says, hey, I covered you on your record. Wait a few years and cover me again. So on the new album, I called David Zettner. David was up at the ranch, and I told him what I wanted to do. And he said, well, and I told him, I says, find out what key, because I got to do the music. So he says, okay. And he calls me back, and I forgot about it. You know, I was jacking around the studio, and phone rings, and I never got a phone call out there. It says, "Falls for you." I said, "Who in the world be calling me here?" You know, I pick up the phone, it's David. Yeah. And he didn't say hello or anything. He says, "Willie says 2 thumbs up in G." So we're just running that song by again. You know, it's one of those songs that we just keep doing back and forth like this.
So where did you record this song, this version of this?
Recorded it at some of it at my house, in my studio. I recorded some of it at BGM Studios in San Antonio, and some at Willie Nelson World Headquarters at Luck.
On the Pedernales River there, huh?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's give it a listen. You want to?
Bloody Mary morning.
It's a Bloody Mary morning, baby left me without warning sometime in the night. So I'm flying down to Houston with forgetting her, the nature of my flight. Taxi toward the runway with the smog and haze reminding me of how I feel. Just a country boy who's learning that the pitfalls of the city are extremely real. All the nightlife and the parties and temptation and deceit, the order of the day. It's a Bloody Mary morning, 'cause I'm leaving baby somewhere in L.A. It's a Bloody Mary morning, baby left me without warning sometime in the night. So I'm flying down to Houston with forgetting her, the nature of my flight.
Our golden jet is airborne, Flight 50 cuts a path across the morning sky. And a voice comes through the speaker reassuring us Flight 50 is the way to fly. And our hostess takes our order, coffee, tea, or something stronger to start off the day. It's a Bloody Mary morning, and I'm leaving baby somewhere in L.A. It's a Bloody Mary morning, baby left me without warning sometime in the night. And I'm flying down to Houston, forgetting her, the nature of my flight.
It's a Bloody Mary morning, baby left me without warning sometime in the night. So I'm flying down to Houston with forgetting her, the nature of my flight.
Oh, man, it doesn't get any sweeter than that right there.
Oh, love that.
Bloody Mary Morning, Willie Nelson wrote it, and George Chambers recorded it, and then Willie recorded it, and then George recorded it again with Willie.
Well, Willie recorded it first in that. I've forgotten what album it's in.
Oh, okay.
But it's in an album.
He did it, you did it, he did it, you did it.
Yeah.
It's his turn again, huh?
That's one of those, yeah, it's his turn. We'll call him up and say, hey, it's your turn again now.
Let's talk a little bit about Willie. How did you meet Willie Nelson?
We were playing the Cabaret Club in 1961 or 2 or 3. Mr. Record Man was out. You know, it was one of his first records.
He'd already gone out of the radio business, but he was
by then he was living in Nashville then.
Yeah, but he was disc jockey at KBOP in Pleasanton.
That was in 54, 55.
Tell you a quick, really great story when Willie left the radio station there. Back in the old days in the radio business, you had to have your license that you hung on the wall if you were one of the operators, one of the disc jockeys, or one of the engineers, and you had your license from the Federal Communications Commission hanging on the wall. When you would leave and go to another job, on the back of your license it had the information on there, the date that you had started at that radio station and the date that you left, and it was signed by either the chief engineer or the general manager or the owner of the radio station. Doc Parker, who owned KBOP back in those days forever in Pleasanton, one of the legendary old country radio stations. Well, Willie Nelson left there. He's working there as a disc jockey. Decided to leave, go to Nashville, and try his hand as a songwriter. And Doc Parker said, well, Willie, bring me your license and I'll sign it for you. And he said, no, Doc, he said, I'm just going to leave it hanging on the wall. He said, I don't need it anymore. He said, I'm not going to work in the radio business anymore. I'm going to make it as a songwriter. And his license hung on the wall. It's still in the museum over there at the Cowboy Museum.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. And he they talk about, if you want to be a success at what it is that you're trying to accomplish, many times you have to burn bridges and put the past behind you and keep focused on the future. It's exactly what he did. Well, he went to Nashville to be a songwriter, and there's a little bit of success there.
He did some commercials that were on XEG and XERF, big stations.
Yeah, the Border Blasters.
Yeah. For, get your song professionally done. Johnny Bush brought a copy. He says, make a copy of this for me. He brings it down and I put it on CD for him, and I kept a copy of it. Wow. It's about 5 minutes long. Send it in, $10, and we'll do a demo of your song, and blah, 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 blah. All this stuff,
Yeah.
Most people don't, today nobody has a clue how those stations worked.
I cut into your deal there. So how did you meet Willie, and where did it go from there?
Well, and when we worked with him at the Cabaret Club, and we knew we were going to get, usually we didn't know who we were going to get, because they had a star every Saturday night, and we worked once a month at the Cabaret from 58 to 68, I guess, 10 years, till Ralph Mitchell sold it. And, Willie Nelson, we'd been listening to some of his records. Bert was all excited because he liked what he was doing, the way he played guitar and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to work with Willie Nelson. And we, got there and we set up and we did our thing. And then here comes Willie. He comes on with Columbus Stockade Blues, Willie Nelson style. And he had Shirley, his wife, playing bass with him, which was a really good thing. And we found out about in 30 seconds, you don't listen to him sing.
Oh, yeah.
But he was just a nice guy, putting up with our antics and this and that and the other, and just here we were stumbling around trying to keep up with him. And we kept running into him. Shady Acres, he had to work with us. I told him, you must be the most unluckiest guy in the business. And he finally said, he said, you know what? And Bush was involved with him then too. And he said, why don't y'all come, we're down here, come do the dance sets, because people keep complaining they can't dance to my music. And we'll do our thing. So he'd call me once in a while from Nashville and say, we got all these dates down there in South Texas. How many of them can you do with us? X number of dates. So we'd go out and play our thing, and then Willie'd come on and do his deal, and we'd go back on and do a thing, and then he'd come back on. And we did lots of those dates like that. We used to work on Wednesday nights with him at the Winchester Club in Houston. I'd get out of school, get on a bus, and we'd go to Houston and play that thing. I'd back in the bus, come back down here, and get up and go teach the next day.
Let's talk about teaching. When did you start teaching? And I see people all the time, still, and always will, that were students of yours, and I could rattle off some names, and you could tell me were they good students or were they, less than.
Well, I figure I went through about 6,000 kids.
You started teaching what year?
62.
Okay. And your chosen field was?
Well, my degree was in vocational agriculture, but I decided I'd teach science because ag was a 12-month deal, and I wanted the summers off so I could go play.
Sure.
Because I didn't let the teaching interfere with my music. I'll guarantee you that.
Yeah.
They weren't paying me enough to put up with that. But I taught some. For the most part, really, really neat people.
And all these years at the same school?
Yeah, I taught biology and I taught advanced science. I taught microbiology and general science.
At which high school was this?
I taught at Southwest for 3 years.
Okay.
I taught at Holmes for 22 years.
Wow.
Wow.
And I taught at Zachary Middle School for 6.
Okay.
And taught 6th graders at Zachary, 6, 7, 8.
That's a little more fun, probably, huh?
Oh, they were fun. Yeah, they were. Yeah, you could really push those kids because they hadn't gotten cynical yet, and figured out all the things.
Sure.
They were on their way, and I'd catch them doing something. How'd you know what's going on? I said, boy, when I was in school, I spent more time in the principal's office than the principal did.
So that was what,
and that's the truth. I was on first name basis with the principal.
What, 31 years teaching? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. You retired. When did you retire?
93.
Been playing music.
Well, I didn't retire. I just quit. I quit teaching and went into music business full time, so I could, I could starve to death.
In a better style.
Yeah.
How did that work out back during the days when you were teaching? Because obviously there's some demands on your time during the week. I guess was your music more or less limited to weekends back in those days?
Oh no, we'd work in it. I'd work in it.
That's what I thought.
There was Wednesday nights, I just had work around it and do whatever we needed to do.
Yeah.
After you teach for a little while, you kind of got things in line. So your prep is a little different. You have to update it, because when I first started teaching, the National Science Foundation was paying books, tuition, and mileage to go to school on Saturday mornings in your teaching field. And you got, graduate, undergraduate, whatever credit you wanted, however much effort you wanted to put into it. And I picked up 24 hours of science at the expense of Uncle. I got some of my tax money back at Incarnate Word. And I mean, it's all in the teaching field.
Yeah.
So that was really a good thing. I got enough hours to have a master's degree plus, but I took subjects that would give me a little better ability to try to do what I was doing rather than, school administration or a master's degree in education, well, that's about as worthless degree as you can get as far as I'm concerned. And today they should pay teachers that are really into it and they're getting stuff in their field. They should be paid on the basis of hours over their degree in their teaching field. Mm-hmm. If you get a master's in education, you get X amount of dollars over. If you get them in your teaching field and you're teaching, then you get X more dollars than this guy over here has got a master's degree in it. And that's the way it ought to be done. But they didn't come ask me.
Well, I got to say, George, that of course a lot of folks, of course, do know that you had a career as a school teacher and a joint career as a musician, but a lot of people know you more as a musician than anything else. But I'll tell you, I do know a lot of your students, and I take my hat off to you for all the years that you've worked with these young people, because teachers are some of the greatest people in this country, and you, of course, are one of those. Aside from being a good friend, I have a great deal of respect for you for that chosen
thank
career.
You very much. I appreciate that. But, 99% of my students were really neat people.
Yeah.
Some of them, were kind of like I was when I was in school. That's how I knew what to do. And I taught I taught Steve Earle.
Well, yeah, I know. I know that's one of the. Somebody asked me the other day. They said, "Did George Chambers teach Steve Earle?" I said, "Yeah, he did."
And
I haven't taught him much, but yeah.
And John Cornyn was in my biology class.
Wow. Well, as I said, a lot of people that you're kind of like Midas touch. People rub up against George Chambers. A lot of people have gotten successful. A lot of them have left the music business because of you.
Yeah, and some of them are in jail.
You know a lot of people. That's one thing for sure. Probably, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of millions of people that you have touched with your music over the many years of your musical career, which is still going strong. Let's get on to the music of the new CD. It's called The Journey Continues, and we're going to play cut number 2. What do we have lined up here?
Oh, we have I've Got a Yearning.
Now, this is a Merle Haggard song.
Yeah, Merle Haggard wrote this tune. We've been doing this song for years and years and years, and it's a dance floor filler.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you play this tune, it's the right tempo, the right feel, or whatever, and we had the harmonies and all that stuff on it. And, I don't know whether it was ever a big hit for Merle or not, but we've been doing it I don't know how many years, and we get requests for it, and we play dances. That's.
I'm glad you put it on the new CD. From the CD, The Journey Continues, with George Chambers and Mike Carr and Ann Lucas. Let's give it a listen.
I've got a yearning to hold you tight, a burning desire I live with day and night. Everything I want to lose keeps on hanging on. This feeling isn't leaving. By now it should be gone. Well, I keep on thinking those thoughts that keep making me want you all the time, when I should be trying to find me a way I could drive you from my mind. I know you wanted to give, and I know that you gave all you could. Wish I could accept what is over and done with for good. 'Cause I've got a yearning to hold you tight, a burning desire I live with day and night. Everything I want to lose keeps on hanging on. This feeling isn't leaving. And by now it should be gone. Well, I know you wanted to give, and I know that you gave all you could. Wish I could accept what is over and done with for good. 'Cause I've got a yearning to hold you tight, a burning desire I live with day and night. Everything I want to lose keeps on hanging on. This feeling isn't leaving. And by now it should be gone. This feeling isn't leaving. And by now it should be gone.
I've got a yearning to hold you tight. Boy, it's an old Merle Haggard song done up by George Chambers and George's new CD, The Journey Continues. And we're going to play, we're just going right through the list here, George, and we're going to play a Shel Silverstein song here in a moment. And he's another one of those great writers.
Yeah.
You got a pretty good list of songwriters material on here, but I want to ask you about Chance. The Journey Continues, Americana Country is the name of the CD with George Chambers and the Country Gentlemen, and prominently featured on the front cover of the CD. There's a fine-looking boy who's very close to your heart. What's his name?
Chance de Basenji.
He's one of those African type dogs.
Yeah, they're an ancient breed. Evidently, I don't know much about them. You know,
that's the one from the movies, right? What was the movie the Lion King wasn't?
It could have been. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I ever saw the Lion King or not, but
they're energetic dogs, aren't they?
Oh yeah. He's just really full. He's 5 years old.
Well, he's driving the bus, which is probably a good thing.
He's a chauffeur, yeah. that picture was just a big accident. You know, when I got all the pictures back, they gave them to me on a CD-ROM, so you could look at them and see which ones we wanted to use. And I saw that picture. I made a big 8x10 of it, and I just kept looking at that thing, and I thought, man, this has to go on the front of the album today. I look so bad, I don't need to be there and scare everybody. And,
the Chance is sitting in the driver's seat right by the steering wheel on the bus and looking back at the boy. It says "load up."
Yeah,
head on down the road.
We're going, boys. Let's go.
All right. So I want to ask you for one thing that I haven't asked you yet, and I'll ask you if I'm supposed to ask you this. So hopefully I'll remember to do that again. Somebody wants to get some of your CDs, the old or the new. Where are they available? How do they get in touch with you?
Well, I really haven't done much about that. I'm trying to put it on CD Baby and and CD Tex over at BGM. They're both basically the same kind of services. And I haven't approached any. Selling records nowadays is so much product out there. But there's a couple of CD shops in San Antonio that carry regional and local stuff, and so I've got to get with those people, and I don't know all of their names yet. So I was kind of waiting until the Christmas thing got out of the way and New Year's, and to get that particular aspect. Otherwise I'm selling off the bandstand.
Yeah, sure. We'll talk more about that. Let's get some of the music going because I don't want to run out of time here, and we're going to be playing all the tracks off of here this morning. Here's Shel Silverstein song called Jennifer Johnson.
Deep in the pocket of an old sport coat jacket, chance to discover an old memory. 3/4 quarter, black and white portrait, taken of Jennifer Johnson and me. I'm in the corner with my shirt collar open, like some Latin lover on late night TV. Smiling right there with her head on my shoulder. It's Jennifer Johnson and she's looking at me. Must have been summer 1967. Beatles were singing "Love Is All You Need." I held her hand as we walked through the arcade, two young believers on a $3 spree. 3/4 quarter, black and white portrait, then close the curtain so no one can see. Hey, kiss me quick, 'cause the red light is flashing on Jennifer Johnson and me. Waiting on that late night train back to home, I felt the warmth in the cool evening breeze. Told her I'd probably love her forever, for Jennifer Johnson and me. 3/4 quarter, black and white portrait, can close the curtain so no one can sleep. Hey, kiss me quick, 'cause the red light is flashing on Jennifer Johnson and me. 3/4 quarter, black and white portrait, two young believers on a $3 spree. save one of me. I saved your picture in my sport coat pocket. Jennifer Johnson, did you save one of me?
Hey, George Chambers and Jennifer Johnson and me. You're listening to KCWM Hondo 1460 and on the World Wide Web. We broadcast at kcwm.net, your Texas station from the border of the nation. We'll get back to some more of the music from the Journey Continues CD with George Chambers, but I want to ask you a couple of guys that I want to ask you about, and we're kind of trying to fly through here a little bit so we can get all the music on. But if you would, tell us quickly about Sam Kendrick. He's a longtime friend, right?
Yeah, really a longtime friend. You know, he's a good writer. I knew him when he was at the Express News.
Yeah.
And I'd see him here and there, but he did a bunch of articles on us way back when he was at the Express News. I remember going down.
He's very helpful in your career. But
he has been. He's been a real prince, you know.
A huge following.
And, you know, I'd go 5 or 6 or 8 years and never see him. I'd run into him somewhere, and I ran into him at a birthday party here about 2 months ago, and he'd just done the article on Ron Knuth in his paper. And he said, I will come to an article on you. And I thought, well, yeah, you know, let people say that. But Sam's true to his word.
Yeah.
He called me about 2 weeks later and says, we need to get together. And we sat around for about 4 hours.
Wow.
Talking, just telling the stories back and forth.
He's got a great article in the December edition of Action Magazine, so everybody pick up a copy of that.
And he did a beautiful job on that thing. He told those lies just like I told him to. He stretched a few of them, but that's okay, you know.
I want to ask you about another great friend of mine, a longtime friend of mine, and a mutual friend of yours, a guy who's also kind of an icon in the country music business here in South Texas. How about Arkie Blue?
Arkie. Oh, I've known Arkie for years.
Yeah, imagine.
You know, I haven't seen him in a long, long time. You know, he's still running. I guess he's still running the Silver Dollar.
Sure is.
But Arkie, gosh, I met Arkie in 1957. I think we were playing at the old Silver Spur in Bandera that's up on the hill there. You know, it's still there, but it's not a club. Somebody was going to make an event center out of it, but I don't know whether that ever happened or not. That was just recently. But we were playing up there with Charlie Walker, and Arkie comes in there, you know, and I got him sang a few songs that he'd written. You know, he wrote a song I always thought should have been a hit for somebody called "The Queen of Broken Hearts."
Yeah.
Yeah, a real straight-ahead country song. I've got an original demo tape he gave me of a bunch of his stuff. You know.
Yeah, we play, occasionally we played in Arkie's with my little old band, and the first time we played in there, everybody that I know around here that has bands, they all ask me, man, how'd you get into Arkie's? That's, that's quite a coup there. And I said, well, you got to be buddies with Arkie to begin with. You got to play old country music because that's all it's about there. But someone asked me, they said, if you had your choice of places you could play, would you rather play Gilley's or would you rather play Billy Bob's? I said, I'd rather play Arkie's.
Yeah.
That's as real as it gets right there.
Yeah, boy, it is. It really is, and it's one of the few of them left.
Yeah.
You know.
They're great people. They're wonderful friends, and boy, they got a great place there. And we're going to play number 4. What song we got?
That's He Went to Paris by Jimmy Buffett.
All right, here it is.
He went to Paris, searching for answers, questions that bothered him so. He was impressive, young and aggressive, saving the world on his own. Warm summer breezes, French wines and cheeses put his ambitions at bay. Summers and winters, scattered like splinters, 4 or 5 years slipped away. He went to England, played the piano, married an actress named Kim. They had a fine life. She was a good wife for him, a young son named Jim. All of the answers, all the questions, locked in his attic one day. They had a good life, clean country living. 20 more years slipped away. War took his baby, bombs killed his lady, left him with only one eye. Body was battered, whole world was shattered. All he could do was just cry. As tears were falling, he was recalling answers that he never found. So he jumped on a freighter, skidded the ocean, left England without a sound. Now he lives in the islands, fishes up islands, drinks his green label each day, writing his memoirs, losing his hearing, but he don't care what most people say. Through 86 years of perpetual motion, if he likes you, he'll smile and he'll say, some of it's magic, some of it's tragic, but I had a good life all the way. He went to Paris, searching for answers to questions that bothered him so.
And it's called He Went to Paris. And Ann, who wrote that?
Jimmy Buffett.
Huh?
Jimmy
Really?
Buffett. That's
Really?
right.
Yeah, that's in.
George, what are you doing Jimmy Buffett's music, man?
Oh, I do. I was a great filling station hold up.
Oh, yeah.
But my favorite Jimmy Buffett song is a song called the Peanut Butter Conspiracy. And
He's kind of a twisted song.
Dig it out. Oh, it's a great song because it's about a bunch of pickers and their survival techniques.
All right, let's move on. What do we got coming up here next, Ann?
Oh, we have Love's a Word I Never Throw Around.
Written by whom?
Written by Robert Earl King, Jr.
All right, here it is.
I guess we've come full circle, we're strangers once again. Hard to know we'd ever come to this. Bonnie, I heard you saying that you'll miss the good old times, but all along I'm thinking you're the one I owe this. Love's a word I never throw around. When I say I love you till the end, talking about until the day they lay me in the ground. Love's a word I never throw around. I'd like to think you're leaving 'cause I treated you unkind, or maybe you just found somebody new. And I know the reason you're leaving me behind. You're no longer feeling the way I feel for you. Love's a word I never throw around. time out in the woods, counting stars and sleeping all alone. I can't say for certain that it'll do me any good. Time I grew accustomed to being on my own. Love's a word I never throw around. When I say I love you till the end, talking about until the day they lay me in the ground. Love's a word I never throw around.
And give me the name of that song again there.
Oh, love's a word I never throw around.
And Robert Earl Keen wrote that, and that's another good one, George. And kind of flying through here. We got one coming. I was asking you who was singing the harmonies, the high harmonies on that. You said Michael Wade, and we're going to play a song that he wrote. Dusty Old Cowboy, huh?
Yeah.
There are a lot of those around, aren't there?
Yeah, boy.
All right, let's give that a listen, and then we'll come back and kind of talk about it a little bit. Dusty Old Cowboy. Here's George Chambers.
Went to the corner and I asked for the way. Stranger said to me, gonna rain for the day ends. All of a sudden, out in the street, pitchforks and hailstones come hurling at me. So pack it away, call it a day. This dusty old cowboy's heading home for the day. Found me a lady, face soft and white, hair all golden like the stars in the night. I reached out to touch her and sing her a song. In one silent moment, she smiled and she's gone. So pack it away, call it a day. This dusty old cowboy's heading home for the day. Wake with the sunrise and I get out of bed. Ain't short of dying, but I ain't dead as yet. Count all my blessings, keep a straight head. If my Lord should call me, I'll gladly be led. So pack it away, call it a day. This dusty old cowboy's heading home for the day. Pack it away, call it a day. This dusty old cowboy's heading home for the day. Pack it away, call it a day. This dusty old cowboy's heading home for the day.
All right, there we go. It's and bring
old
me back.
cowboy.
Yeah, bring me back up to speed here. Where were we?
Did we get to Paris? Okay.
Dusty
We're
Old
listening to
Cowboy.
Dusty Old Cowboy.
All right. Ron Knuth's got some songs that he wrote that is on the CD, and we're going to be playing some of those. And we had a chance to visit with George off the air a little bit. I said, we're liable to run out of time here. Can you stick around a little later? And he said, yeah. So we're going to play all these cuts. We're going to talk about some other people that you're working with and some people that you have that you think a lot of. And I know you've been a huge help to many people over the years in their careers in music. And, maybe people don't think about that so much, but you've been a great influence on many of the artists, and also a great friend to many of them. And there's never been a time that anybody in the country music business has called on George and you didn't offer them a helping hand. And I take my hat off to you for that also. I know one of the guys that I wanted to mention here this morning. There's a dear friend of mine, and I know he's a dear friend of yours also, and he passed away a few years back. He had cancer and died, our buddy Keith Adams. And Keith was a great guy.
Keith is a good singer.
Yeah.
Boy, I'd forgotten all about Keith.
Yeah.
I've not forgotten about him. But I hadn't thought about him in years.
He was a good talent. He was a real good friend of mine. He and I, a lot of times you'd see Mike Carr, you'd see Keith Adams, and vice versa. And I know many times you looked off the bandstand and saw us out there at George Chambers dances because we followed you all over South Texas. But I know he's one of the guys, and he always said, George has done a lot for me. He's helped me a lot. And I appreciate that,
Well, that's what you're in business for, is to help each other.
Sure. Let's go back over here and ask Ann. She's kind of keeping me in line here.
She's in charge over here.
Yeah, she's the one that's picking the music.
Got the bullwhip,
We're going to listen to Where Have You Been All My Life?
All right, and Ron Knuth wrote this.
Ron Knuth played the guitar.
Okay.
I've never known your smile. You never gave one to me. And I've never known your touch. That's not how I want it to be. Don't be surprised if I seem to act like you're already mine. For I have seen the future, and it's getting brighter. Where have you been all my life? If I say leave the gate open, you won't have to beg me to stay. We can put on some old records as long as it's not the blues, and dance the night away. For I've never known your smile. You never gave one to me. And I've never known your touch. That's not how I want it to be. Don't be surprised if I seem to act like you're already mine. For I have seen the future, and it's getting brighter. Where have you been all my life?
Been all my life.
The Journey Continues is the CD, Americana Country, George Chambers and the Country Gentleman, featuring Chance driving the bus. Chance the dog. He's a fine-looking boy. And, man, I like that song, George. Where Have You Been All My Life? Ron Knuth
wrote that. Ron sings it on the bandstand. We do it. I don't sing it. I just always wanted to record it, and I got the opportunity, and so I did.
And who's that picking those fancy guitar licks on?
Well, Ron.
Yeah.
Ron's doing that, and Bert's doing some of the fills
Yeah.
in the verses. But Ron played the lead, the
Sweet.
guitar break.
Sweet sound.
And it blended real well with the piano. Bill Green played piano on most of this stuff. That where the piano is.
That's another guy that's been hanging around a long time. Isn't
Yeah, and Bill plays really good rhythm piano.
Yeah.
He's always busting rock and play the stupid piano.
Yeah.
And on one of the cuts on this album, I think it's the last cut, when we originally cut it, it didn't have piano on it. And so I went over to the studio, I made a little CD, a rough mix, and had him play piano and put it on a CD, just the piano tracks in stereo.
Yeah.
So I took it back to the studio at home and put it in the computer and put the recorder over here and put the piano on the record. I managed to get it timed perfectly the first time, and and just played that CD, and it was like he was playing along. Played the piano. In the record, you can't hear the piano very well because it's one of those things where it's blended in there.
Yeah.
But if you took it out, you'd see this big old hole in there. It fit perfectly.
Talking about the computers and all that stuff and digital recording and everything. Well, it's a world of difference compared to what it was when you first started out.
Well, a lot of convenience, it used to cut and splice and this and that and the other.
Yeah.
And in the original days, when we cut the ribbon, if you made a mistake, you stopped and had to start over.
Yeah.
And, it's one of those things. You learn how to play it perfectly.
You got some of my favorite songs on here. One of them is coming up next. It's a good railroad song. I love railroad music, and we were talking earlier about our buddy Stanley Zettner, and his dad was a buddy and a big Jimmy Rogers fan, and man, I love that old Jimmy Rogers music. That's really where it all started for us, and we're going to play this kind of a hobo song here in just a second. But I wanted to ask you, first of all, I get to talking about Ron Knuth, and I think about the fiddle, and I get to thinking about Frenchie Burke. Some thoughts on Frenchie?
When I talked to Frenchie, talked to him, he called me the other day.
He's probably listening in right now.
Well, he is. Hello, Frenchie. I hope you're doing good,
Yeah.
He was doing pretty well. He said he's still having trouble playing. He had a stroke.
Yeah.
He said he was having trouble with his arm. But he sounded good when I talked to him.
Back in the old days, I guess there were occasions when you and the gentleman would back
Frenchie and Ron get on those fiddles and look out.
That's pretty good. Pretty good trick back in
yeah.
Frenchie, isn't it? You talking about Willie a minute ago? You don't pay any attention to his singing; you just play the music. But Frenchie, man, just staying up with him, that's a pretty good choice.
Oh, it's a lot of exercise. You
Yeah.
learn how to play fast, but he has those people in his hands the whole time he's on that stage.
Oh, he's incredible.
He's really a good entertainer.
Frenchie, the room just lights up when Frenchie walks on the stage. Let's hear some hobo music. Ann, did you know this was a hobo song we're going to play now?
I'm going to know now.
I bet you probably heard this song. Probably your daddy probably sang this to you when you were a little girl. Here's Big Rock Candy Mountain.
On a summer's day in the month of May, well, a bird of them come a-hiking down a shady lane to the sugar cane. He was looking for his liking. As he strolled along, well, he sang a song of a land of milk and honey, where a bum would stay for many a day, and it won't be any money. Oh, the buzzing of the bees and the cigarette trees, the soda water fountain, Lemonade Springs where the bluebird sings in the Big Rock Candy Mountain. On a run came a farmer and his son to the hay fields they were bounding. Said the bum to the son, why don't you come to the Big Rock Candy Mountain? So the very next day they hiked away, and the mileposts they kept counting, but they never did arrive at the lemonade tide in the Big Rock Candy Mountain. Oh, the buzzing of the bees and the cigarette trees, the soda water fountain, Lemonade Springs where the bluebird sings in the Big Rock Candy Mountain. Lemonade Springs where the bluebird sings in the Big Rock Candy Mountain.
Oh, man, the Big Rock Candy Mountain, all about that hobo coming on down the line. And that song goes back a year or two, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does.
Back to the 20s, maybe even back before that.
Yeah.
1920s,
I had a friend, do you know Aaron Allen?
Yeah.
Yeah, Aaron used to have a radio show on KITE.
Yeah.
And I don't know how old I was. It was 1949, 50, sometime along in there. And lying on the floor, I had air conditioning. It was summertime. It's hot, but the floor was real cool. It was tile. And lay on the floor and listen to Aaron's radio show, and that was his theme song.
Yeah.
And he'd come on with the Big Rock Candy Mountain.
Yeah. I think Aaron is down around Victoria, somewhere down there.
No, he's in Luling.
Luling.
Yeah.
That's pretty close. That's on the other side of San Antonio. Anyway.
Yeah, he's good. I've done some of his tunes and some of the earlier albums.
Yeah. Well, that's a great one, man. Big Rock Candy Mountain.
Oh, I like it.
This next song that's coming up here is also a song that's written by a real good buddy of mine. He's a Grammy Award-winning songwriter and a really talented guy. Joe Allen wrote one of your songs here, Magic Little Garden. Yeah,
he sent me a demo tape years ago and had it on there, and I thought, that's a good song. And I talked to him about it. He's a really nice guy, you know.
Yeah, he is. He's an old Texas boy, too. One of those Texas songwriters. They sometimes seems like got a little different take on things. And,
yeah, they do.
Kind of more way we look at things. Huh?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's give it a listen.
You're walking through a garden in my mind, a gentle place where happiness surrounds me, where every barefoot kid has got a swing in mind, in the magic little garden in my mind. It's beautiful for one like me to have a special place, a little world where he can go to see a smiling face. My world is full of sunshine, and it's all because of you. You color things as pretty as the eyes you're looking through. You're walking through a garden in my mind, a gentle place where happiness surrounds me, where every barefoot kid has got a swinging vine, in the magic little garden in my mind. It's simple just to take a seed and plant it in the ground. Flower, even if you're not around. Love is just the same way when you plant it deep. From a tiny acorn you can grow a mighty tree. You're walking through a garden in my mind, a gentle place where happiness surrounds me, where every barefoot kid has got a swinging vine, in the magic little garden in my mind. You're walking through a garden in my mind, a gentle place where happiness surrounds me, where every barefoot kid has got a swinging vine, in the magic little garden in my mind, in the magic little garden in my mind.
Magic Little Garden in My Mind. Our old buddy Joe Allen wrote that, and boy, that's another one of those Joe Allen songs. And I was just visiting off air here, George. I was saying that sounds like a Joe Allen song. Great songwriters usually kind of have that signature sound.
Yeah, that's why I like that song.
It's very distinctive
on the tape, and it was I got to where I think I just wanted to do songs that I just felt good about and liked, rather than You know, it goes back to the old Ricky Nelson saying, you can't please everybody, so you got to please yourself.
There you go, man.
That's probably one of the best pieces of philosophy I think I ever heard.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to music, that really is because then you're doing what it is that you're supposed to be doing. It comes naturally to you.
And there's no way you could second guess the audience, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
that's absolutely. That's probably one of the truest things anybody ever said.
And you never know who's paying attention. That's the thing I've learned doing these singles.
Yeah.
You're up on the bandstand or wherever you're playing in the corner, you know, and everybody's out there drinking and talking and doing what they're doing. And you figure, you know, some people are listening, but you know, most of them are just having a good time, and you're just kind of you know, doing a little background stuff for them, which is fine with me. It pays the same, doesn't matter.
Right.
You know, that $3 will work well, you know, at a grocery store. So, and some guys sitting in the back talking all night long and drinking comes up and says, "Well, I really like that song you did about so and so, and you did about this." You know, and, you know, wow, it amazes you. You just can't second guess the folks. You know.
And how about identify the station for us here?
From San Antonio to Uvalde and Pearsall to Texas Hill Country, we're listening to KCWM Hondo.
That's right, and we, by the way, are your Texas station from the border of the nation. It's 11 o'clock. George is going to stick around with us here a little longer, so we're going to get a chance to get all the songs on. Here's one called New Country Singer.
Find him a jukebox and let him crawl in. Strike up the band, let the music begin. Somebody will lose, somebody will win. And a new country singer will sing it again. There'll always be another heartbreaking song, as long as love is bound to go wrong. Somebody will laugh, somebody will cry, and a new country singer will be riding high. Every bird fallen was a bird on the wing. Every song sung is a mere passing thing. Every heart broken will soon love again. Like a true country singer, we'll sing to the end. There'll always be another heartbreaking song, as long as love is bound to go wrong. Somebody will laugh, somebody will cry, and a new country singer will be riding high. Somebody will lose, somebody will win, and a new country singer will sing it again.
New country singer, boy, oh boy. I got him dancing around the lobby at KCWM this morning. There's one of the songs from Aaron Allen and Ron Conduth, a new country singer. And George, that's a great waltz tune, and we were talking about that.
Yeah.
Folks like to get up and waltz, don't they?
Yeah, oh, they do.
Dancing around. Victor's here, my buddy Victor's here, and Carol, and they're out there dancing around the lobby.
Turpa dancers.
That's a bona fide country radio station,
So
right
you
there.
got that right.
They're dancing in the lobby.
Yeah, if you find somebody who knows how to waltz, it's a real rare occasion nowadays because, most of the dancers are out there wiggling around. They're
kind of lost.
And they don't know a waltz from whatever.
Watusi.
Yeah.
I can do both.
But there you go. That's versatile.
Yeah.
Versatility, that's the thing.
I can't do either one of them, really. Let's see, what else we have?
We have a George
hold on
Chambers.
just one second. I was just kind of thinking out loud there. We're going to get back to the music here in just one moment. But one of the things I wanted to mention is that we're over time, but we're going to stay here for a little while longer because you've got a couple of artists that you've been working with and stuff, and we're going to play some of their music and. Just right now, because we're not finished up with George Chambers yet, but give us their names. They got R.J. Smith.
R.J. Smith and Doug Wynn.
Okay, and we're going to play a little bit of their music too.
Yeah.
So, we appreciate you bringing that stuff in here, and appreciate you taking time to come and be here with us.
Well, I appreciate you asking me to come down and be with you.
I want to mention also you brought us some CDs to give away, so we're going to be doing that on the air. When we come back off of holiday, I was explaining to you before we open up the microphones, I'm going to be kind of in and out during the holidays, but when we come back after the holidays are over and get back into the regular swing of things, the CD, The Journey Continues, is going to be our first Spotlight CD for the year 2015.
Well, I appreciate it.
And that is where on the morning show we play all the cuts off of there all week long. So we're going to be talking a lot.
Well, they'll
about
be so sick of listening to that thing.
And also some bumper stickers. Who is George Chambers? Ask Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
How long have you had that sticker? You've had that sticker a long time.
Well, the original sticker just said, "Who is George Chambers?" Because Willie wrote on our second album, the Feelings album, he wrote the liner notes.
Yeah.
And he entitled the liner notes, "Who's George Chambers?" And wrote these really nice liner notes about it, And a friend of mine says, "You need to make a bumper sticker that says, 'Who is George Chambers?'" I said, "Okay, you handle that, and I'll give you whatever money it takes to do that."
Right.
And so that was, back in the early 70s, I think. And then I was working the rodeo in San Antonio with Tommy World and the Diamond W. Longhorn Ranch Group. I'm doing the cowboy shows, and I was doing the music, for the cowboy shows. And he says, "You ought to have a bumper sticker that says, 'Who is George Chambers?' Ask Willie Nelson." And I said, "Well, let me think about that." So I called Johnny Bush. I said, "You going up and play golf with Willie anytime soon?" He said, "Well, I'm going tomorrow." I said, "Well, ask him if we can do this without getting into a big licensing hassle or something."
Yeah.
And the phone rang the next day, or I guess it was the next day. They were up there on the golf course. And he says, "Willie says, H-yes."
Well, that's great, and that's a great bumper sticker. And,
it's just getting a lot of comments. And they're good for covering up scratches on your car. You can paste them over somebody's mouth for talking too much.
There you go.
All kinds of uses.
And you see them all over the place too. People driving around with them on their cars and pickups and stuff. Who is George Chambers? And he's the guy who sings this next song. What's the name of it?
Try Not to Go Home Alone.
Yeah, we load up our guitars, head for the dance hall Saturday night once more. I'm here to play some real country music, fill up that old dance floor. How the dancers appear seems out of nowhere to hear the music we play. They're all in the mood for a honking good party. They're all here for only one thing. And we'll sing of drinking and the smoky old dance go. Well, sing of the lovers and sing of the heartbreak. Try not to go home alone. Well, the people laughing, dancing along to all of their favorite songs. Oh, but here it is midnight and the party is over. Everyone's heading for home. They'll dream of the drinking and the smoky old dance halls, my girl. I wish they had known. They'll dream of the lovers and dream of the heartbreak. Why did they go home alone? They'll dream of the drinking and the smoky old dance halls, the girl, I wish they had known. They'll dream of the lovers and dream of the heartbreak. Why did they go home alone? They'll dream of the lovers, dream of the heartbreak, wonder why they went home alone.
There's George Chambers, and we're asking the question, who is George Chambers? He's not only the guy that sang that song, right, Ann, but
He's the one who wrote it.
yeah, good song, George.
Well, thank you.
Try not to
very
go
good.
home alone.
Yeah.
And we got one more song remaining off the Journey Continues CD with George Chambers and the Country Gentlemen. And here's I was talking about the songwriters on here. Man, that's pretty strong list. Willie Nelson, Merle Haggard, Robert Earl Keen, and the list goes on. And also our buddy Joe Allen. And here's another song that was written by a good friend of the radio station, a good old buddy of mine. Jim Chestnut wrote this last song on here. And he did something else. Tell me about, before we play this song, let's talk about the DVD that Chestnut
Oh, the
produced.
DVD. He just came in one day and said he wanted to produce a DVD on the band. You know, even though the music business has changed, the band is still working, you know, some dates and still playing and doing this and that. And the disappearance of most of the dance halls.
Yeah.
And we had some video from a thing we did on Channel 9 years and years ago and some other stuff. And he interviewed a bunch of people, you know, in it. And he called it Fading Memories, just the idea that, you know, the halls are kind of fading away.
Yeah, sure.
And he wrote this tune. It's the theme tune for that DVD. But it's a good country song. I mean, it's the real thing.
Well, let's give that a listen. It's Jim Chestnut's song, Fading Memories. And once again, here's George Chambers.
I've got fading memories in my mind, fading memories of good times. Dance hall Saturday night with occasional good old boy fight. I've got fading memories in my mind. Back when we were young, this was a small town state. We didn't get a TV until 1968. Daddy was a hard-working railroad man. Mama raised us kids We didn't have much, but we had good times. Yes, we surely did. And I've got fading memories in my mind. Fading memories of good times. Dance hall Saturday night with occasional good old boy fights. I've got fading memories in my mind. Traveling bands came to our hometown. Everyone played the Cotton Eye Joe. We danced the night away while Bob Wills' Playboys played. We were never ready when Mama said, it's time to go. I've got fading memories in my mind. Fading memories of good times. Dance hall Saturday night with occasional good old boy fights. I've got fading memories in my mind. I've got fading memories in my mind.
Fading Memories, George Chambers at KCWM. George Chambers and the Country Gentleman. And old buddy Jim Chestnut wrote that song right there. And also built a DVD around it and around the George Chambers sound and around South Texas country music. It's not what it used to be. It's changed, and we have to change. We have to do that.
But there's still a few.
We sure want to preserve
million
it.
Diehards out there.
Yeah, we want to preserve the real deal, don't we?
Yeah.
The journey continues. George Chambers and the Country Gentleman, and of course Chance the Dog, and encourage everybody to get out to your shows where they can pick up a copy of this.
Well,
You're going to be. We're not done yet, George. Not going to let you go yet because we got a couple more
That's all right.
things that we want to talk about, and then. But I do want to ask you right now, because if somebody's looking to pick up one of the CDs, they can do that at some of the steakhouses and the gigs that you're playing. You're playing at Grady's. How do we find out when you're going to be out at Grady's?
Oh, you just have to call them because it's good. I do it 2 times a month, and it's kind of random. It depends on how the schedule falls.
Okay.
And
on their website, they publicize it also on the Grady's website.
Okay.
Do they?
They do.
Is that Grady's.com? We're talking about the barbecue place.
Yeah.
Grady's.
Yeah, Ann has a very good friend. I was telling you, he's also a friend of mine now, but he's a longtime friend of Ann's that plays Grady's on the nights when you're not there. Many times you see him, Rick Salinas.
Yeah.
He does a great job, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's a nice guy.
Rick's a good singer.
Yeah.
He does well.
In fact, he's going to be at Grady's out on Bandera Road this coming Friday night. So anyway, I'm going to get out to...
I need to call him and warn him about the PA system, dude.
Is it tricky?
Yeah, well, I think the main speakers have come unplugged.
Oh.
I don't know if it's the guys that played there last weekend, so they couldn't get the mains to work.
Uh-huh.
So they just turned the monitors out and used them. You're not playing loud in there anyway, so...
Yeah. How big a room is that we're talking about?
It'll hold a couple hundred people.
Oh, okay. So it's pretty good.
It's the old dance hall, the dance hall park.
Oh, okay.
And what they did, the back room is a party room, but in the old days, that was part of the dance hall. They had garage doors back there, and if they had a big crowd, they'd open it and put people back in that back room back there. And then they got another party room out across the parking lot over there.
Yeah. Whatever happened to what's his name that used to have that place? You know what I'm talking about? The barber, the guy that had it in more recent years. Songwriting barber. Conrad Pierce.
Conrad. I don't know what happened to Conrad. I haven't seen him in a long
He
time.
had the Texas Star in, and then the next thing you know, he was long gone. So he went back to Nashville.
You know, after Frank sold it, it went through 2 or 3 owners, and then Grady bought it, made a barbecue place out of it, and then Grady himself bought it, and then Grady sold it to what's the name of that company? Anyway, it's a corporation there in San Antonio. It owned Columbia Bowling Balls. And,
well, it's a good move because, man, it's a great place to get a barbecue meal and hear some good old music with George Chambers and also Rick Salinas, our buddy. Who else is playing?
Doug Wynn.
Okay, he's one of the
plays out there
in the rotation.
Who else is playing that thing? Leonard Rodriguez plays it once in a while, and that's the regulars like Doug and I and Rick.
Yeah.
And then, shoot, I'm trying to think who else. You're drawing a blank here.
Well, when you said Leonard Rodriguez, you can just stop right there because no sense in going any farther than that. He's a good old buddy also.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it's good music out there at Grady's. And so
sometimes I don't think Grady's knows what they've really got there.
Right. Yeah. Well, you know, George, we, of course, always encourage people to get out and support live music because it's part of our heritage, and there's a particular aspect of it here in South Texas, and it is fading, and we want to preserve it. And the only way we can preserve that is for folks to get out and support those that are doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, it's really strange because I've been doing it almost 12 years, I guess, 11 years, something. Anyway, I never get a request for a new song, and some of that's just the demographic that's in there. But the demographic runs from like 5 years old to 500, and a lot of times I'll get somebody's in their late teens, early 20s will come up to the bandstand, and they want to hear an old Johnny Cash song.
Yeah,
you know, well, it's not. They're not necessarily the popular ones. They're the little more obscure things like that. Or
there's no age confinement because, man, I'll tell you, little kids love San Antonio Rose and stuff like that. It's all about the music. Yeah. All right, well, let's play something from...
Let's hear one from
Doug. You're going to have to tell me what cut we're playing here.
Last Rainbow to Town, number 4.
Number 4? All right.
Yeah, it's a waltz.
Last Rainbow to Town.
Last rainbow to town. Sad to see you're not around. Spin a pot of gold on Lone Star Pier. Sad to see you're not here. But I'll try back another day. Will you be here? It's hard to say. Losing you hurt so bad. Thought of you just makes me sad. Don't suppose you'll ever love me as much as I love you. You place so many things above me, and I nothing above you. Roll the last rainbow to town. Sad to see you not around. Roll the last rainbow to town. Life is hell when you're down. I wish that you were here with me, but I don't need your sympathy. But I don't suppose you'll ever love me as much as I love you. You place so many things above me, and I nothing above you. Roll the last rainbow to town. Sad to see not around.
Doug Wynn, KCWM, and the last Rainbow to Town. That's one of the guys, and that plays out at Grady's. Mm-hmm. And you were telling us you can get that information on their website?
You can, yes.
Okay. What is it?
It's www.grady's.com, I think.
That's pretty easy. How you
just
spell?
Google Grady's. It'll come
Grady's?
right up.
Okay. All right. Great. Just Grady's. If you put barbecue, it'll probably definitely you can Google that.
It will.
Right up there.
It will just come up.
All right. Doug Wynn, and he's out there regularly, so you have to.
Yeah, he does a couple of.
Now, you guys play at both Grady's locations, or are you just
I play
Bandera Road?
Bandera Road 90% of the time.
The only
sometimes I'll play the Wetmore place. The only two places they have entertainment is Wetmore and Bandera Road.
Right. But you primarily over on Bandera Road.
And it's close to my house.
Yeah. And then Rick Salinas, I guess, is primarily over at Wetmore. He plays.
He's playing both of them.
He does both. He alternates.
Yeah.
He does a great job. As a matter of fact, we saw him the other night. He's
one person, but it sounds like he's got.
He invited me to come out Friday night and bring my guitar. He said he'd let me get up and sing a couple of songs.
He's got some tracks. So. He's got his iPad on.
Mm-hmm.
He put out some bass tracks.
It's a full band, and then he's playing.
It sounds like
right.
Yeah. He did a nice job on those tracks. I'm not a big fan of using tracks, but his sound good. Most guys
they really do. Yeah.
Put too much stuff in them, but his are real basic and really nice. The only problem with that is if somebody comes up to talk to you or something, you get lost in a hurry because the track ain't going to stop.
Right.
It keeps on going.
Yeah. But he does a good job. He's a good singer, and he's a nice man, too.
Yeah.
And you're also playing, you're playing that kind of regular, and then you got, you always got other things that are going on that are not so much regular deals. Playing here and there.
I was doing spec store.
Cowboy stuff.
Once in a while, I'm doing New Year's Eve out at a place called, Chestnut and I are going to go out to a place called Rusty Spur, which is on Blanco Road.
That sounds like a fine place, right?
Well, it's a neat old club. I'm doing a Rusty Spur. I thought, wow, what's this going to be? We went out there and looked at it, but it's just when you cross Cibolo Creek, go into Comal County on Blanco Road, it's about a quarter of a mile up there on the right.
New Year's Eve?
Yeah, Jim and I are going to go do a duo out there.
Need reservations for that, probably, huh?
Well, I'd like to think so, but I don't.
Well, New Year's Eve, George. If you can't pack them in on New Year's Eve, brother,
I haven't played a New Year's Eve in I don't know how many years. I never have. I just haven't chased it.
Yeah, it's more fun not to sometimes, isn't it?
The worst part was getting on the highway after.
Oh man,
the highway patrol used to come into the cabaret club, about 12:30, and they'd come in and stand at the door.
Yeah.
And I'd go over and say, "You guys get out of here and go get those drunks off the road before we get on the road with them."
For sure. Yeah. The one of the places you're playing regularly is you're playing on the mighty San Antonio Riverwalk, and what's that all about?
I'm the hired musician with a lady named R.J. Smith that plays with the Bobby Flores Yellow Rose Band. She plays fiddle, and she got this thing down on the river at the Republic of Texas restaurant on Sundays and Mondays, and I play on Sundays with her down there, and I'm the band, and she's the star. And so I stand around and play rhythm guitar, and we play old fiddle music, with the exception of a few things like Danny Boy and Shogun Farewell from the Civil War series that Ken Burns did. Yeah. And Blue Spanish Eyes, she does that. And
there's not too many places where you can go and hear with the emphasis on old fiddle music.
Mm-hmm. So. People just, probably 75 to 80% of what we have down there is tourists.
Yeah, sure.
But they love that stuff, man. Sure. They're not hearing it anywhere.
We're going to play something from her that I'm kind of curious about because there's some other great fiddle players on there with her. Bobby Flores and Hank Singer.
Oh, play that. Yeah.
And she plays fiddle for Bobby.
Yeah, she plays fiddle, and so does Hank.
Yeah.
You know, and those three fiddles are just incredible.
So this is the string section of the Yellow Rose Band right
yes,
here.
It is.
Let's play this. What's her name again?
R.J. Smith.
R.J. Smith, and she's appearing regularly at the Republic of Texas
restaurant, Sundays and Mondays.
And I asked you, if, with a name like that, Republic of Texas, I said, can you get a chicken fried steak in there? You say their nachos are exceptional.
Yeah, I'd never have. I'm sure they have chicken fried steak. I never looked at the menu.
All right, well, we're going to check that out.
They've got good food. I know that.
I'm going to come over and look at y'all Sunday.
Do that.
I'm going to come out there and give it a listen, man. I love fiddle
That won't
music.
take you too long to look at us.
Nothing better than listening to fiddle music. Let's listen to some right now. Here's Faded Love. Man, if you're going to play a fiddle song, that's about as good as it gets right there.
Well, you're not kidding.
Faded Love. Boy, that's R.J. Smith, who George Chambers works with regularly. They perform down at the Riverwalk at the Republic of Texas every Sunday evening.
Oh, thank you for that.
And also on that particular cut on that album right there, Bobby Flores, who I think most people know Bobby, and also another one of the great Texas fiddle players, Hank Singer, triple fiddles, man. There's, I've always said there's only one thing better than a fiddle on a bandstand. That's two fiddles.
Yeah.
And you get three, and particularly if they know
three
what they're
fiddles
doing.
like that to know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You're in really good shape.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, they're incredible. Just really, really fine.
All right, I got to mention, George, before we go here. Well, appreciate you coming down to begin with.
Well, I want to thank you for having me. This has really been fun.
And appreciate you giving us.
I don't know why we hadn't done this before,
Yeah.
but it was one of those deals, I guess. We just hadn't been able to coordinate it.
Yeah.
But
I appreciate you staying and giving us some extra time because
I appreciate you letting me come down and
so much music and so little time.
visit with you. It's really nice of you to do things like this. Because a lot of radio doesn't do it anymore, and the artists and players, are really appreciative of places like you here that take the time to recognize what they do and talk to them about it. And listeners like to hear, the stories and
the inside scoop.
Behind
the scenes.
Things that they wouldn't be privy to, on just an ordinary basis. It gives them a venue. You're nice enough to do that, and we really, really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you guys, and I want to mention we've dropped a lot of names here this morning, and be remiss without mentioning a little bit more about our great mutual friend Max Gardner. Max was I was one of the chosen few who got to call him Uncle Max, and not everybody got to call him that.
Yeah, I know that.
He thought a lot of you if you allowed to call him that. So
I met him.
Me and Johnny Rodriguez called him Unc.
Oh.
But,
yeah, Johnny Rod.
He was a wonderful guy, and I'll tell you what, we talk about South Texas country music.
Next time you see Johnny Rod, tell him I said hi.
I'll do that.
He used to come to Quihee and crawl in the back window and sing till they threw him out.
Yeah.
When we were playing down there way back before.
Sure. Yeah. I wanted to ask you something also. It reminds me, before we go away entirely here this morning, we were talking about McDonough, the dance hall there at McDonough, and you said you've got an old transcription of Bob Wills and the boys playing out there with all the Wills brothers. And I don't want to let you forget. You said you'd make me a copy of that.
Well, I will do that. Yeah.
I want that so I can play it here on the radio station. Get everybody to listen to it.
It's really transcription sounding,
But what about the old McDonough Dance Hall? Boy, there was some legendary groups there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I remember they used to Maddox Brothers and Rose. Hank Williams played one of his last dates out there.
Yeah.
In fact, Hank played his last birthday at a place called The Barn, which was on Highway 90 East. Charlie Walker and some other guys owned that thing.
Wow.
But it was called The Barn, and they had all the stars that Webb Pierce and all those guys played it. But Hank played, his birthday was September 17th, and he played The Barn on September 17th, and he died,
in January,
New Year's Eve. That year.
Another guy I want to mention that I see on some of the liner information on one of your CDs, who was a great friend in the radio business and also a great musician buddy, Mr. B. Bailey Brown.
Oh, B, yeah. I got back a
wasn't
long way with B. He was a good guy. He played on which album? It is Sunset Woman. Well, in the Privileged Audience album, he did played on some of that stuff in there on Sunset Woman, and I've forgotten what else, but he played steel, played a little guitar on some of that stuff. And I'd known B since he was like 15 years old.
Yeah, and he started out in the radio business as the fastest tongue in the West, and he could fly through a radio commercial at about double speed.
Bernard Bailey Brown.
I'll tell you a quick funny story. With you and I had a lot of mutual friends over there at 680 back in those days. And one of them was Rick Tanner. And old Tanner, I was over there one day visiting with Rick, and B came in, and he bought a fiddle. Well, it wasn't a new fiddle. He bought it, but it was new to him. It was a fiddle that he had bought. And he came in, and he was showing it to us, and he said, "Yeah, man." He said, "What do you think of this fiddle?" And Rick said, "Boy, that's a nice fiddle. How much that thing worth?" "Oh, it's worth $2,000 or whatever, that he had paid for it." "Golly, why is it worth so much?" He said, "Well, because the thing's 200 years old. This fiddle, 200-year-old fiddle." And Tanner asked him, he said, "What are you going to do with it, B?" And he said, "What do you think I'm going to do with it? I'm going to learn to play it." Rick said, "I'm not sure it's going to last another 200 years." But B was a talented musician also,
yes,
and
he
was a great friend. He was a wonderful guy to me in the radio business.
Yeah, he was a good guy. Yeah.
And we can go on and keep dropping names. I know Billy Mata is a guy that you think a lot of also. And
Billy's a good boy.
He's doing a lot for our heritage.
Yeah,
and
he sure is.
And I wanted to ask you about a guy I know that you crossed paths with several times back many years ago, probably like me, less in recent history, but a kid by the name of George Strait.
Yeah. The last time I saw Strait was in Oklahoma City, and to talk to him.
Yeah.
In 1987, we were doing the Darrell and Willie golf tournament.
Yeah.
And he was on it. We were doing the backup. He came walking up on stage. He says, "Well, George, what can we do?"
Yeah, you used to play a lot of the same venues.
Oh yeah, played Crystal Chandelier, Pat's Hall, and those places.
Yeah.
When we did the 150th anniversary of Fredericksburg, and they recreated Pat's Hall out at the fairgrounds. They put the tree in the middle of the patio and all that stuff, and they had a bunch of memorabilia there. And they had a contract for the Ace in the Hole band.
Right. George didn't even get billing on that, probably.
Well, he signed the contract.
Yeah.
And for $350.
Yeah.
For the Ace in the Hole band.
Yeah.
Signed by George Strait.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I always tell everybody he lives down the road from me because he lives in the Dominion.
Yeah.
Talk about that direct.
He lives
just down the road.
He lives on the other side of the gate, though, George.
Yeah. And when we do, sometimes we'll do these hitchhiking cowboy bus rides where you get on the bus and sing to the tourists when they're taking them to Don Strange Ranch or somewhere.
Yeah, talk a little more specifically about that. I know what you're talking about, but a lot of folks may not.
Well, what they do is just use it for entertainment so the people don't think the ride is so far out in the country.
Yeah.
But they'll hire a bunch of guys, you put on your cowboy hat and your bandana and your boots and you get in the bus and you sing to these folks while they're traveling up there.
Or you'll be on the side of the road and the bus will stop.
Yeah, they're like hitchhikers, and the people on the bus don't know a thing about that. They say, what are we stopping for,
Yeah, they probably figure they're getting, if they're from up north particularly, they probably figure they're getting waylaid. They're going to get robbed or something.
It's, but those are always fun, But every time we go on one, we go past the Dominion, I say, that's George Strait's house right there. It's up on top of the hill. He lives on the hill.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Well, it's all about the music, George, and before you leave here this morning, let me ask you, I'm pretty sure you probably don't have any idea, but maybe a rough number. How many dance halls have you played as far as, I realize you play one, over and over repeatedly, the Farmer's Daughter, the Golden Stallion, the Wagon Wheel, or wherever it is. But just on individual total number of nights, how many times do you think you've been on the bandstand?
Oh, good gosh, I don't have a clue. I'd have to sit down and write them all down and see which ones they were, Because we played in Round Rock, we played all those old clubs like Panna Maria and Sestahoven down in that area, and Corpus Christi and Robstown, and the list, Houston, and just
everywhere.
Yeah, just anywhere. South Texas, pretty much. Played Panther Hall in Fort Worth a few times. And,
any standout memories as to maybe the best show you ever had, or the best crowd you ever worked? Or?
No, shoot, it's hard to get that.
They're all about the same.
A bunch of them were really good, Yeah. Nobody threw anything at us.
Yeah.
So, at Frontier Town one time, somebody threw a beer bottle through the front window of the bus. Well, it didn't go through, but it broke the window on the passenger side. But
it just adds a little more atmosphere and excitement. Huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you didn't have Chance with you back in those days.
No, that's right. He'd have gotten their case right quick.
Taking care of that. George Chambers and the Country Gentleman. George, thank you so much for bringing the CD down for us to give away, the bumper stickers. We're going to, as I said, we're going to spotlight the CD when I come back off of the holiday. And first spotlight CD for
thank you so
15
much.
Will be George Chambers.
I really appreciate that. That's really nice, because I know you got a lot of records that you need to play, and I appreciate you taking time to do that.
Well, I appreciate you coming in. And, Ann, did you learn anything today?
I learned so much.
Quite a history lesson.
Yes, a history lesson in music.
And the old professor here.
A little bit of biology.
Is this going to be an open book test?
We're going to have a test tomorrow, yeah. Bring your pen and your notebook paper. Yeah.
All right. George, thanks for coming, man. Thanks for everybody that came by to see you today. Lots of company here at the radio station. We appreciate it.
Appreciate that, yeah.
All them dropping by.
You can tell they didn't have much to do.
And I'll be looking for you. I'm going to get out there Sunday evening. If the weather's right, I'm going to be there in the crowd.
Yeah, if the weather's bad, we're not going to go out there. I guarantee you that.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens with it. You're listening to KCWM Hondo at 1460 and on the World Wide Web at kcwm.net. The home of the morning show with Mike Carr, and today with Ann Lucas and Carr tunes on the radio, and we got some George tunes on the radio today too. George Chambers and the Country Gentleman. Get out and see George first time you get a chance, and stay tuned to KCWM. Of course, you'll be hearing a lot more from him here on 1460 and kcwm.net. It's time again for the KCWM Great Christmas Tamale Giveaway. When you hear Santa Claus jingle bells and hearty ho, 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 call 830-741-5296.
Break out the eggnog and the Christmas lights. Sing jingle bells and it's silent night.
If you're the first caller, we'll put a package of tamales underneath the KCWM Christmas tree for you. Pick up your tamales during the morning show party on Christmas Eve. Stay tuned for your chance to win tamales from the Great Christmas Tamale Giveaway. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from KCWM.